Hey guys, just a quick announcement before we get started. The new podcast website is up and running at tbcguides.gg/podcast. And you can check it out there. We have show notes there. Basically anytime we talk about things like raid comms or anything I think that's relevant to the topics that me and Zirene might talk about, I can link it there on the website. And as well as that, there's bonus content as well. So I do have a Patreon now, and one of the perks is that I put bonus content there. So for the podcast in particular, there's two bonus things that patrons do get. So one is that I do cut clips out of the podcast from time to time. Sometimes the topics that go too long, or there's clips that just didn't make sense in that episode, but it's still interesting. So I have kind of like a mini bonus segment of the podcast linked in the Patreon as well for people to watch that every week. So that's one of the perks. Now, the other thing is that Patreon supporters who are tier 2 will also get the podcast earlier than everyone else. So this changes nothing for how me and Zirene do the podcast normally. So we'll still record it usually on the Thursday. But this does mean that if you are a Patreon tier 2 sub, then you will get the link with the VOD and the timestamps. So basically what you're watching right now, you get that on the day after, instead of having to wait till like the Monday-ish, which is roughly when it comes out normally. So I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. And if you want to check out the Patreon or the new podcast site, it's all linked in the description below. All right, have a good podcast. Welcome, guys, to Prepared episode 10. We got a super hypey TBC breakdown this week. More news. You know, every week, Zirene, I go into this and I think, will we have good topics for next week? And this week is one week where I do not have to worry whether we'll have good topics, because we have almost too many good topics today.
Yeah, there's some where I'm just like, it's getting to the point where I'm sitting here going, that like noobs world record breakdown. I'm like, we could cut that, like, and people out there in the comments could be like, he said cut the speed running section. I'm like, yeah, it's getting to that point, but because there's actually just so much that's going on with TBC, and it's got a really like fast development at this point. So there's going to be a lot ramping up in the next few weeks.
Okay, so this is what we're going to try to cover. We don't know if we'll cover everything today, guys, but we're going to start off with the big topic, of course, TBC launch leaks. That's a whole 5-hour segment in itself. Then we've got rated arena changes. They added world bosses to TBC beta. We did a Karazhan raid test round 2 as well. That's actually a pretty interesting topic there. Then they did a policy update as well. There's no more third-party software, so you can't use weak auras to mirror keystrokes, which means all multi-boxing is kind of dead. And then we have the news speedrun as well that we'll try to fit in if we have time at the end, but we'll see how time goes, because this might be a really spicy podcast. So yeah, Zirene, welcome, guys.
Thank you. I'm always happy to be here.
And sorry we had to reschedule yesterday because Zirene did have a COVID shot, so he was under the weather a bit, recovering from his vaccine.
Yeah, it takes a while to install the 5G and remove the speedrunning chip from my brain at the same time. So, it's done something to me. Somebody in the chat was already like, it affected him. He doesn't want to talk about speedrunning anymore. So now
Red Tusk, it's fixed. Vaccines work.
We're good. I've been cured.
Yeah. Okay. So, TBC launch. Let me just pull it up on our share screen, because God, I have 5,000 screens here to show today.
Here we go. Yep.
Let me see. Let's start with the first one. Okay. So yeah, TBC launch May 18th, pre-patch June 1st / June 2nd, depending on where you live in the world, is when TBC will be launching. So that's, by the way, that's a midnight launch. Rip to the EU guys, by the way. Have fun with that midnight TBC launch. We have 2 weeks of pre-patch. Zirene, my only thoughts on this is Blizzard why, and I'm a very calm guy, Blizzard. I like to think that I have one of the chillest streams, but if there's been a time when I've been angered and very disappointed, it has been this announcement, because I have nothing positive to say about this. I just, in the past, I always have times when I think, man, okay, this is the negative, but maybe there's this positive in the corner here. This is one of those times where I'm thinking, what is the positive of this? I just don't know.
So I've had a lot of time to think about this, because if you guys remember last week, I said this is what's going to happen. I was like, the May 18th It was in the code. It's looking more and more like that's what it's going to be. The way that they're pushing things on beta right now, and the fact that it's only phase 1 and they have to care about Gruul, McTheridan, and Kara, and they're like, thoroughly testing Karazhan and arenas. I'm just like, that's pretty much all there is to it. So May 18th in the code that was like data mined, I was like, that's probably what's going to happen. And then the June 1st leak happened, and I was immediately talking about like, this is probably what's going to happen is they're going to give you 2 weeks. It makes sense with Dark Moon Fair being a week earlier, because I think what Blizzard was doing is I actually think Blizzard moved it up a week or back a week, right? In terms of Dark Moon Fair, I find it hard to believe that, like a bunch of add-ons and sites got it wrong in terms of their tracking when they've never gotten it wrong in the past. So I think Blizzard moved DMF back 1 week, or I guess forward 1 week. So it's earlier 1 week. So earlier 1 week so that you get this week, then you rebuff DMF and you get next week. And those are your final 2 weeks to speedrun or do whatever the fuck you want in this phase. Then May 18th is the day that they release the patch for pre-patch. And then 2 weeks later, because of the release, that's when they end up doing the TBC drop. Now, I do not mind the 2 weeks here before, like the 2 DMF weeks right before the patch. I don't mind the pre-patch being on the 18th. That's not what I mind. I mind because you know me. Normally, I understand where video game companies are coming from, and I talked about how a 2 week period of being able to level your Blood Elf or your Draenei. I was like, that's probably enough for some people with the 60 like experience going down and everything. But I get the idea of you don't want people playing pre-patch for too long, because people can burn themselves out on pre-patch with nothing to do besides Karazhan and mess around with new talents and Warsong Gulch and farm honor for a little bit. And farming honor, by the way, at 60 is very different than 70. So the amount that you get at 60 is going to be incredibly low compared to what you get at 70. So farming honor in preparation for 70 isn't really going to be that much of a thing. So it's just better to spend your time leveling your alts and like stuff like that. But the 2 week period, I'm kind of like, I get it. Like, you don't want people to burn out, but I think it's just not enough for the average person to get the character up that they want, right? I think 3 weeks is a much more reasonable time for somebody to level to 60 or 58 with a Blood Elf or a Draenei, or somebody who's never played the game before, right? In my opinion. So I think 2 weeks is too fast. I think 3 weeks is much better. But the other issue I have with it is the amount of time they've given you. They've given you less than 30-day notice, right? This is like, if they were my fucking landlord, I'd have a problem with this. Because like most of the time, a lot of workplaces don't let you, take time off unless you give them 30-day advance notice. Yeah. And tell them like, this is where you want to use your sick time, right? But it's just, who was saying this? Somebody was saying that. I think it was like Asmongold said something where it was like, imagine telling your girlfriend or your wife that like you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to take 4 days off and like not like talk to you or be around you because I'm gonna level in this game, and they get like 3 weeks notice instead of like it's a planned thing ahead of time. Like if you give them like a month and a half notice, be like, babe, this is when this is happening. Like this is important to me, that type of thing. So
wine and dine them before.
Yeah, right. Just spend the time, have date nights beforehand. But I feel like this is just, one, not considerate to the average player, and two, it's just not enough time and not enough warning. 1 more week would be much more reasonable. But I understand the fear of people burning out on Classic, right? I understand that fear. So I get where they're coming from. I just don't like the execution of it. But they've also like been... I actually think internally, Blizzard may have thought that they weren't going to make their own deadline of May 18th, because that was out there for a really long time. And it felt like this is a lot of beta testing, right? Like they usually do 1 day of testing for each thing, and then they're like, all right, it's good, it's ready to ship, right? And now it's like there's just so many things in Karazhan that were going wrong. There were even things in McTheridan that were going wrong. So I mean, we had an issue in Gruul's Lair where we actually had to remake our characters. The guys who feared, like the guys who feared before Gruul, like made the spikes come up, and you couldn't get into Gruul's lair, and it was as if he was in combat the whole time. It was really interesting. It was really weird. So there's like bugs all over the place. So I feel like they felt they weren't even going to make their own deadline. And that's why I think they kept it hidden. But now I think they're like, okay, we're a bit confident in this. This will probably be fine to ship. And then they still have 2 weeks before. So they basically are giving themselves a month before the game has to be playable in Outland, right? So I just the positive of this, Snow, the positive of this is that we don't have to wait much longer. That's all there is. That's all there is to it.
It's almost like when I look at the list of like when I was going through the topics before the podcast, and usually I give myself little notes of things I want to mention or talk about. It's almost like, where do I start and with all the things wrong with this? Because there's so many things wrong to cover. Like one is the entire thing you mentioned where the player base is a lot older for WoW. WoW has a lot of an older player base just because we came back for Classic and we've grown up, and a lot of people have jobs, and a lot of WoW players are in that IT segment where they're going to request going to request time off so that they can play their favorite game for a week or two and just veg out. And now that really screws over so many people who need to get time off. So that's like one just big factor. And people are saying that it's going to be like, oh, you know, there's sweaty people whining that they can't get their shamans and paladins leveled in time. But let's be real, the sweaty guys are not affected by this. The sweaty guys, they got their mage boost prepped and everything. They're not going to be affected by this. It's the average guy that's going to struggle the most to get their paladins and shamans and such in time. It's not the sweaty guys. The sweaty guys are already planning out the quest routes and everything to day one get a 70, and God knows how quick those guys are going to get. So
there's people who legitimately have like a full quest log done and have quest items in their inventory where you click it and it gives you the quest, so they're already ready to do like 3/4 of a level or a level instantly. So
yeah. And I just don't understand. The only thing I can think of why they would do this is the thing that's been mentioned by a few people, where they just want to make their financials look good for this final, like for the quarter, because otherwise I've heard people say like, okay, they're trying to rush this and give you this really short time so that they can sell more boosts. But I don't think that's it, because while they would get people who are like, oh no, I gotta catch up, I gotta buy the boost, I feel like they also kill a lot of the hype by rushing this out so quickly. There's not that long hype period. I think they would sell more over time, like more boosts, more clones, more everything, if the pre-patch was just a little bit longer than what it is. I don't necessarily think that they would sell more boosts. So I don't think it's like a boost issue like some people have brought up. I think it's just literally, it feels to me like this is one of those things where you have the, like an exec just wants to make his stats look good for the quarter. And so he's willing to sacrifice like a little bit of stats on the next quarter just to boost up this quarter's thing, which is something I honestly really hate about like the corporate world, is that they do things like this where they sacrifice the future benefit of the company just to make like the current time better. And it's something that's honestly incentivized a lot in the whole corporate structure of things. It's why like I have a lot of troubles working like a corporate job, is because like a lot of the times you have to keep in mind these executives aren't there forever, or they're not always, like the managers aren't always there forever, so they just want to look good while they're there. So they don't care if like future manager guy is gonna have to run into issues like, oh wait, we launched TBC like 2 weeks earlier than we should have, and now like I'm running into all the after effects of it. Like a lot of these guys just want to look good in a moment, and they don't necessarily care about the future as much sometimes.
Well, because the context is something that doesn't matter when you're applying for your next job, and you go, I took Blizzard from being 2 points down to being 3 points up, right? In quarter, like in an early quarter, right? You can basically, if you're a corporate person, you can then go to the next job as, one of the people who gets headhunted and go, yeah, this is what I did. I took this company and I took them from the red into the black, or, that type of thing. So you can look at those things that are tangible, but it doesn't always take into account what could have been, because you could have had even more profit, right? But yeah, the execution of it, I still don't like it. I just don't think it's very good. Somebody did bring up a point though, and I will give them that, is you couldn't level Blood Elves or Draenei in pre-patch in original vanilla. So they are giving us that. This is kind of like you polish the turd. But that's it's at least the bright side,
Yeah.
right?
It's so disappointing with especially with pre-patch. I was kind of excited for pre-patch, but now it's kind of killed all hype for the pre-patch. Because what can
the pre-patch is not even the pre-patch isn't a phase.
Yeah,
That's the thing that I was afraid of, though, is that pre-patch would become a phase for like 2 months or something. But pre-patch isn't a phase, and I'm okay with that. But it's not even its own thing anymore, right?
Yeah, it's like 2 weeks. Like, what can I even do in 2 weeks? I can test out a spec 1 week, and then maybe the next week I can test out a different spec, but I'll never like finalize any results. I'm pretty much just going in there blind and testing stuff out, and the stuff you're testing has no applicable value because by the time you realize what's good or what's bad or anything else, it's done. It's just like, there's no point.
And this pre-patch will never exist again, right? Classic era servers will never go into pre-patch for Classic WoW. That you won't have like mutilated at level 60 and be able to like do nax and stuff like that. And like, farm GM weapons and have 60 be the cap. And then in 2 weeks, TBC, it launches and then you move on and people don't do nax anymore. So those 2 weeks are going to be incredibly unique in terms of what people are doing in Naxxramas, because it won't be something people ever do in Classic Era, and it's not something that people will ever do in TBC. So that time is going to be distinctly unique. Yeah. Kind of like how it was back in the day.
Yeah, I've talked to a bunch of other content creators as well who had stuff planned for pre-patch, and now they're just like, I'm just going to scrap that because like, why make content that's there for a week and then it's not valid anymore? It's like people have been asking me about pre-patch builds and things like that. I was like, maybe I'll put out something quick, but I'm not gonna do a ton of research for something that's there for like a week of time before you have to start thinking about TBC already.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Do you think that's
I don't know
anything to do with the June 1st date, though, for Ashes of Creation? I think that maybe is a bit of coincidence, because Ashes of Creation Alpha starts on June 1st. And I almost wonder if, like, Blizzard saw that and I was like, well, we won't move it just to screw them, but if we can accommodate our timing to screw them by launching at the same time as well, maybe you do that. But that's a little bit on the conspiracy theory level. But yeah, Ashes of Creation Alpha, wait, I can pull it up here, is June
so why
1st.
Why are they releasing on a Tuesday? That's my question. It's like, wait, why are they releasing an alpha on a Tuesday? I'm pretty sure that's not like industry standard. Is that like, I know because wait, all right, so Tuesday became patch day. Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning became patch day, because in the industry, people had looked at stats, and Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning are the least played times for your games, just across the board. People will sometimes play Monday morning before they go to work, right? Trying to get a little bit more of that weekend. Sometimes they play on Monday night to like de-stress, but Tuesday is when work really quick kicks in and you have deadlines that are coming up. Wednesday, it's the same thing. And then Thursday, you start getting ready for the weekend. Friday, you full effect. Saturday, Sunday, without question. So Tuesday, Wednesday are actually your lowest traffic days, which to me always is like kind of like if you're releasing on a Tuesday, I don't know what you're doing. But that's why, like, even League of Legends patches on Tuesdays, because of the same reason. The least amount of people play on those days. Tuesday, Wednesday morning. Those are your least active times. So, and that's why it became industry standard, right? Is it's patch day. Yeah. Because people don't play and you don't want to disrupt people. Because if you're going to release a patch Friday night, people are going to be like, that's my fucking Friday night ruined. Who goes, you ruined my Tuesday morning. you ruined my Wednesday morning. So, yeah. And so for Ashes of Creation coming out on that, it's interesting. I don't think that's like something intended. It's kind of just like that's the Tuesday that it happened to land on. I don't know why Ashes of Creation are releasing on a damn Tuesday there, but I'm gonna say that's their fault, brother. I'm not gonna say that's I'm not saying that's Blizzard. I'm saying that's Ash's fault right there. They kind of done themselves in on that one. So
yeah, unfortunate time for them, because it means all the streamers are for sure. Everyone's going. If you're a streamer and you're gonna pick between Ashes or TBC launch, 100% you're going TBC launch. You're not gonna be streaming the Ashes probably. So that's
Yeah.
unfortunate. They got the wind taken out of their sails a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
yeah, man, I just there's so many things wrong with this timing. I feel bad for the EU guys who have that midnight launch. And if you're like a speed leveler person or someone that's really pushing for
Mm-hmm.
that hardcore element of it, have fun resetting your sleep schedule somehow so you can start at midnight.
Yeah, I mean, I've had games release at midnight here before. It's one of those things where like it was the transition from when you would stay up at the GameStop outside, and wait for like the midnight release of a game, and then when it became online, it was just like, oh, let's where is this happening? Where's this you look online, oh, it ticked 12:01, it's released, download it, right? Or you download ahead of time and then it gets activated at 12:01. So I've had games release at midnight, but nothing like this. This is a game that's like you need to just put so many hours into it. It's a ridiculous time sink. Like, what am I doing with my life? No, I'm just kidding. Oh man, but yeah, I mean, they give them that, right. Degenerate region is what Sneaky MC and Chad is saying. I mean, the EU historically is just more hardcore in WoW than North America is, but I don't know, man. This is all right. So okay, so working in the video game industry, I will tell you guys this: time zones are fucked. Like, working events that are in China while in the US sucks. Like right now, MSI is going on, like for League of Legends. And my roommate's casting that, and he's up at like 5 a.m., 4 a.m., and the games are starting. That's like best you could get, because like it's a decent time for Europe. China, it's later. And then in here, it's like really early morning. But so it's not bad for like East Coasters. So in terms of like everybody, the amount of people you fuck over, I actually think fucking over the West Coast is probably your best bet globally, because you fuck over the West Coast, you're like, the East Coast people, they'll get up at like, they'll get up at 8 a.m. And then you have a reasonable time. You would be like 4 p.m., I believe, for Europe. And then in China, it would be like 9 p.m. Or it'd be like 10 p.m. So it's not bad if you do it that way. But I actually think from like a game perspective, you should be fucking over the West Coast the most, because in terms of the amount of people who play globally, your game is much more profitable in something like China and Europe in terms of player base. I'll tell you straight up, like
when is it launching
League of
in
Legends, same way.
China? Because I know China is WoW's biggest
it says
market.
6 a.m. there.
Yeah. Okay. So Taipei, Seoul is 7 a.m. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So he chose that timing for China. You know what this whole thing reminds me of a lot? Like as far as like the timing of kind of screwing over the players a little bit. It reminds me a lot of the old Star Wars Galaxies thing that they did. So way back in the day, I don't know if you're aware of like the whole Jedi debacle in the Star Wars Galaxy era.
The Jedi debacle where they were like OP broken, or
Oh no, okay. So in the I think it's Star Wars Galaxies anyway. It's that old Star Wars MMO. So the game developers hid checkpoints that you had to do to unlock the Jedi class, and because it was a Star Wars MMO, everyone wanted to be a Jedi, and it got like little bits and pieces of clues were there, and people were trying to become Jedis. And then the executives behind the scenes were like, okay, well, how do we make more money? Well, people want to be Jedis, let's let everyone be Jedis. So they forced the developers to kind of make a decision where they made hints for more hints, and kind of told people like, yeah, this is kind of like what you got to do if you want to grind out the Jedi class. And that kind of ruined the game, because then everyone started doing mundane things to try to grind out the Jedi class. And it feels like this is kind of in the same kind of vein, not as severe, but in the same vein where like some executives is saying, hey, yeah, launch on June 1st because I want my stats to look good. And the game developers, I would assume they don't want to do this either. They probably would like a little bit more time and extend the timings a little bit more.
Your thing, what you were saying is they're trying to make it look good for the quarter.
Yeah, I feel like
right?
that's like the only thing I can think of, like why they would choose this specific timing. Because otherwise, I
Because
don't know why not just delay it like another 2 weeks or something, with the
because
timing between the two.
because April 1st to June 30th is Q2, right? So
It depends on
it's
the
right in the
yeah,
middle.
yeah. It depends on the company because I think that each company can kind
It's
of pick their
yeah.
quarters as well. But I think
I mean,
for Blizzard, it's June.
it's a nine yeah, it's a 90-day period, right?
Yeah.
It's just 4 90-day periods. So it's like March 30th, and then it's like April 1st to June 30th. Pretty much universally, at least. I don't know if you know any companies that do it differently by like a decent amount instead of like 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, I'm not sure actually. But yeah. So
Mm.
I'm just not sure because I can kind of understand it because like they get more TBC time into this quarter, but it's almost like at the
Hmm.
cost of the next quarter. It's just
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I hate the whole thing. I've never seen the whole
Yeah.
community behind one thing like this before though. Like it's kind of
Oh
funny
wow!
like
Like I agree. No.
yeah, like with the boost when we bring up boosting talk or anything else, there's always like a divide. But with
Yeah.
this particular move, Blizzard has somehow been able to get everyone on the same page hating this change or this
Yeah.
time.
Like for me, I understand. I empathize with Blizzard in thinking you want to release pre-patch and then you want to get to the game as soon as possible because people will burn out in pre-patch. 100% they will, except for the people who are leveling and the people who are like messing around with specs, right? But that's not the average person. They're just going to be like, this is Karazhan just in a different outfit, right? That's all it, or not Karazhan, it's a Naxxramas in a different outfit. You're doing the same thing, just different but same, right? And that's the problem. So I understand releasing it quickly, but I don't think it's a good idea. And I think one more week would be much more reasonable, because a month period of pre-patch is when it starts to feel a little long and people will quit and be like, I'm going to quit for pre-patch. I'll come back at this point. So I think one, they should have given us more time and warned us ahead of time so we could be prepared. And two, I mean, maybe it's Blizzard going with the thematic, right? Of Illidan didn't give a fuck if you were ready or not. Blizzard doesn't give a shit if you're ready or you're not. You're not prepared for
We're
this
really
bullshit. Just
reaching now.
open the portal, like
We're
open the
really
portal.
reaching for reasons to support this change now.
Oh.
But yeah, I just this entire thing has been fascinating to watch the entire community behind. Do you think that it'll be ready? That's a whole nother question. Is do you think they'll be ready in time? Because there's a lot of stuff that's still not working in the beta properly. Like I know from a rogue perspective, we're still losing combo points every time we try to focus blind or focus kick.
Define ready, because it will be playable. Will it have a lot of bugs? Yeah, it will. Dude, look, I actually I gotta show you a clip. You're gonna oh man. I hope I could find this like almost instantly. Is it in the posted in the PvP channel? It's my friend was playing in arena and he went up against a streamer and the streamer's playing mage and he's playing warrior and he jumps while he's frost nova and closes the distance to him. And the guy, the streamer's just like, what? He jumped in the Nova. Like, what is going on? So, in terms of like things being ready, it will be playable, but I don't think it will be good in the PvP aspect of it. And here's the other thing, guys. I don't know what queues are going to be like. Is there going to be queues again? Right? 100%, there's probably going to be queues, right? And we're all going to be sitting there in those 6-hour goddamn queues like the first time. By the way, I found this guy's accent really enjoyable when he says Nova.
wait, so here's a clip.
That didn't hit or what?
It's a Nuva.
What? Oh, I died. He jumped in the Nova.
Yeah, I feel like PvP is going to be the most broken aspects of things. Out of all the bugs, I feel like that's the thing that they've kind of just left there on the table, whether they're like, we'll fix this eventually, guys. Don't you worry. All these bugs like the combo points dropping, like trinkets. Have they fixed all the trinket things yet? I haven't played PvP recently. Is trinket still like not working properly half the time?
It's working for some things, but it's not everything still. I don't know exactly at this point what it's not working on, but I know some people are like, you You can't trinket gouge, which I don't know if you could trinket gouge back in the day. But you can luckily trinket the things now that you couldn't before. So it's at least getting better, right?
God, I'm so worried for PvP because like rogues are one of those classes where a lot of these things completely change how you might play out in a matchup, and things like losing your combo points when you focus blind has changed how a lot of rogues have been playing, because like now they've been trying like, okay, well, I got to try to dump these combo points before I swap, because if I focus blind here, I'm gonna lose my combo points. It changes a lot of the like just in general how they think through the matchups, and I feel like
Go ahead.
yeah, I don't know if Blizzard's gonna fix this in time, or if they're just gonna be like, oh well, you guys deal with it. We'll fix it at some point in early TBC, hopefully.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just gonna be a shit show. But I will say that like PvP rated is not coming out for quote unquote a few weeks. I don't know if you saw the interview with Holly Longdale where she had said the arena season is starting a few weeks after the release of TBC. So they didn't say a few months, they said a few weeks. So I'm assuming that season 1 is going to be like 3 or 4 weeks into the patch, which does not seem like a bad thing to me. That seems like a good pace.
Yeah, that seems okay. That was what it was originally, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. The tornadoes, interesting choice to bring those back. They were turned up to a 10. We talked about that already. But God, it is. Oh man, it is going to be a wild ride. Like, if you have a job, you might as well quit it, and then spend or tell them you're pregnant and take the month off. So just your girlfriend, your wife had a baby. You're just gonna take the time off, and then you're just gonna play.
Oh, well, to kind of move on ranting about the dates for a while. What do you think about the actual pricing of the boost and everything? So, for people that don't know, the boost is $39.99 if you just want just the level 58 boost, one per account, $39.99. The clone is $35. So this is if you want to clone your character to the Classic Forever servers instead of just going into TBC without cloning, it's going to be $35 per character. Deluxe edition of WoW is going to cost $69.99. And the deluxe edition is the boost, and what you get on top of that is 30 days game time and then a bunch of mounts and cosmetics. Now, I did work out the value of that. You're basically paying about $20 on top of the boost and the 30-day game time for the mounts and the cosmetics.
It's $15 actually.
Oh, well, I guess it depends on your region and how much you're paying.
Yeah,
well.
Yeah. Because subscriptions are typically $15 a month now, and then the boost on top is that's $55, right? And then the difference of $70. So it's the $15 difference between the two. So you're paying $15 for the mounts and stuff. This is usually what people find like the biggest like disagreement with me on, is like things like cash shop money, all that type of shit. And I think they're gonna be pleasantly surprised by what I have to say about this. This is fucking terrible. I don't mind.
The vaccine has changed you, Zirene.
I don't mind the boost being $40. Like, the boost being $40 makes sense to me.
That's actually cheaper than I thought it would be, honestly.
Yeah, I thought it'd be 60, but it's $40. It seems in line with what they've done with boosts in retail and shit like that. But good Lord, is everything else about this garbage. Like, you're charging me $35 to clone my character per character to play the game that I was already playing, and also play that character in another game. Like, I understand Blizzard. I get it. I'm paying $15 and I'm getting 3 games a month. I'm getting Classic Era, I'm getting TBC, and I'm getting Shadowlands. I'm getting 3 games for the price of 1. I totally get it. But don't charge me $35 to play a character that I've played the entire time and worked on, and I have every right to be able to play in both games. Like, why not? Make it $5. I don't care. But good if you need something. But God, it's and like somebody said, $35 for the account clone, that would be fine. I don't even know about that, because some people only have one character, right? And that would still be the same problem. like if because like if you pay $5 per character and then it's like 35 because you got 7 of them, then that's like okay, that's more reasonable. But oh man, I really just don't like the fact that they're charging you $35. That is huge. And somebody's saying like the price feels like they are trying to like kill Classic forever before it launches. Yeah, this is going to harm because like I've said this over and over again is I care about the population of the game and for the game to be healthy and to thrive and have like a player base. This feels like it's just going to it's the coup de grace for Classic. It's just like nope. How many people wanted fresh servers? You're probably gonna have fresh servers, man. How many people are gonna clone their character to Classic for $35? Like, but I do not like how they're doing that. But I do like that what they do, from what I've heard, is your character you choose TBC or Classic era, but there is a clone of your character ready to activate. Right?
Yeah.
So the character will be there ready to be activated if I decide that I still want to play Classic WoW in the future. So I don't have to do it immediately, but it's just, this is where they lose me, and I find it hard to defend what they're doing here. Like, I do not agree. $35, way too fucking much.
Yeah. I think it's way too much. It's I'm of the same mindset where I'm okay with the boost being about $40. That's kind of what I expected. That's like I said, that's cheaper than I was expecting them to put the boost at, honestly. And that's kind of its own issue. But cloning, I feel like they're just trying to guilt you or like nostalgia you into doing that, because it feels like it's not something I would really want to do anyway. And then I look at it and it's like $35, really? The only reason I would do this is so that, okay, like maybe there's at some point in time I want to go back and look at my Classic character again, like at how it was. And that's the only reason I can think of paying this crazy amount of money to clone onto these servers. It doesn't make sense. It feels like maybe like they even do this because they want everyone to just go into TBC at this point, because that's what's going to happen if they keep it at $35 for just a clone.
Well, this feels like one of those things where you pay $35 for disappointment. It's like you and your friends, you pay for them all, all three, you go see a movie and it sucks ass. Like, you're going to pay $35 here for disappointment. You're going to pay $35 to have your character on Classic era, and then how many other people are going to play that shit? Especially at the start. Like, a lot of people are burnt out on that. People would want progressive servers starting again from the beginning in maybe like 2 years or some shit. But right now, people are just like, do I really want to pay $35 for the privilege to raid Nax Ramus every week still? Fuck that, dude. I love Nax, but I ain't going to do that. I mean, maybe if there's like enough people who want to do it, but God, I don't know. That's the thing, is I put my time into that character in Classic. I should be able to play it in Classic if I want to, and in TBC, right? That's my stance on it. Is why are you like gatekeeping me from my own character?
And it's really bad for people with multiple characters as well. Like, it's bad enough that it's 35 for one, but imagine if you're someone that plays a few outs as well. Have fun paying $100, $200 to copy all your characters over as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be a nightmare. And like, I'm gonna tell you guys straight up, as somebody who was a GM and a raid leader for 3 different raids, good fucking luck to anybody who wants to run a guild in Classic era servers. Like, you're basically asking everybody to pay $35 to casually raid every week. Who's going to show up with world buffs? People are going to be at each other's necks all the time now with like, are they playing TBC? Because I remember when Shadowlands came out, there was some copy pasta. I don't remember where this came from. Did you ever see the copy pasta where it was like, with the release of Shadowlands, if I see you playing the game, I will take it as your resignation.
Yeah. That was going around. That was big on the FIMO with the progress. Everyone put progress in place of that. Because I was like, which hardcore guild would actually say this? And it was like, progress.
No, dude, it was so funny though, because it was like, with the release of Shadowlands, if I see anybody playing that game, I will take it as your resignation. Right? You're here to play Classic in this guild, and you're here to be competitive. Like, it was so funny. But that's basically what it's going to be like, is those people are going to be like losing people to TBC all the time. So I'm just sitting here. How are people going to fucking, play Classic era? I don't know. That's the problem for me, where I'm just like, I have no clue. Like, so like Blizzard's in a weird position. Okay. So like, I don't know what the perfect solution is to this, because you have players who want to play their current classic character and not go to TBC, right? You have those players, right? You have players who want to continue into TBC. Then you have people who want fresh servers. And you can't really do all three. You can give people fresh servers and be like, oh, we opened new ones, right? But you can't give people like progressive servers of like phase one again, because then that's something different than classic era. And if you did that, the people who have like classic, I mean, maybe you could just do like progressive servers and start over again on some, but it becomes a little harder to manage. But maybe that's a solution. But it just feels like too many things going on at once for them on top of Shadowlands and then having 3 games. So
'Cause, like you said before, they're cannibalizing their own audience, and
yes,
like there's the really big thing where like I was already expecting the classic servers to struggle because there's just a way with MMOs work. When you're not progressing, you just like people just fall off, people just disappear. You really struggle to keep guilds alive, and guilds just in the end they just start cannibalizing each other because there's no new blood coming into the server. Servers get super top heavy. I was actually kind of curious to see what happened to the EverQuest server that did this. So this again, this is one of those things that has already happened in EverQuest in the past. So Holly Longdale's actually done this in EverQuest already. So I had a quick peek at the EverQuest realm numbers. So Agna here at the top here, guys, you can see the screen, is the classic server, classic forever version of this. Actually, it's after classic. This is like the TBC forever server, and even the TBC forever server couldn't survive. The population is now low because they just bleed people. What happened on that server was people get their bis. Like people treat that server as a tour. They come in, they get their full bis, and then they're done, and they never log in again. And then it gets harder and harder to replace those people as it goes on.
Yeah. Man, I really like. I don't know. They're in a bad place, but $35, you're not helping your case. Like, I don't envy the position they're in, because I would understand like people would be upset if you went, by the way, Classic is becoming TBC, and you have no say in it. There's no Classic era server, and there'd be enough people who say like, we want Classic era servers, and then I would do the whole, you think you want Classic era servers. I'd pull a Blizzard on you guys. I'd be like, but you don't really want Classic era servers. The thing is, you don't really want Classic era servers at the same time as TBC is releasing. That's what you don't want. And you want like actual like progressive servers too. You want it that specific way. So I really feel like they're in a bad spot, and they just made it worse for themselves here, because they are destroying, like you said, cannibalizing their own audience. But here, they're not cannibalizing them. They're turning them upside down. They're trying to take their lunch money before they give them the swerve. Like this is just, it's adding insult to injury on this. It's like, oh yeah, Classic Era is going to be probably not played by a lot of people, but if you do want to play it, $35.
Yeah, it's just bad decisions on bad decisions right now, I feel.
Here's the thing is, like, I've talked about player trust a lot, and this right here is one of those things where like that Blizzard was already low in the player trust department recently. And this is one of those things where there's going to be a big ass confirmation bias, and people are going to be like, told you they're fucking money grubbing. Like, that's the thing is, you're going to look for anything there where you're just like, all Blizzard cares about now is just making money, right? It's like that. They're owned by Activision now. That's all they care about. All they care about is making money. As soon as you see anything that shows any semblance of that, you're going to be like, look at those fucking guys milking their whales. Like, come on. And I can't disagree on this one. This is way too fucking like much. So I think we all agree on that. I think we all agree it isn't good. Let's talk about the package. Let's talk about the package. Now.
Oh, okay. The deluxe edition package.
Yeah. So I dislike this for 2 to 3 reasons. The first reason is that you can't buy the mount separately currently, right? And a lot of people want just the Shadowlands mount. A lot of people have talked about how they play only Shadowlands. They don't give a flying fuck about TBC, but they want the mount. So they got to pay $70 for a mount. If they release this by itself, awesome. That would fix that problem. Other problem I have with this is, why are they introducing a toy with the Black Portal and the Illidan path to TBC and not Shadowlands. Toys didn't exist in TBC. Why are they doing that? Like this like last week when we talked about it, I was like, oh yeah, there's a the Path the Illidan toy and the Dark Portal Hearthstone. I'm like, oh, those are just gonna be like in Shadowlands. It's fine. Those are retail things, right? And I'm just like, those toys already exist in retail? Really? Oh, good God, dude. Then why even make them for fucking TBC? Like, this is where people start going, yo, it's a slippery slope, bro. Like, once you, because what Blizzard is doing right now, if it already exists in retail, that's even worse, dude. Because what that's saying is they're literally copy pasting shit from retail, putting it inside of TBC, and putting a price tag on it.
Okay, yeah, I'm just showing it on the screen now. Like, yeah.
What? Like, why? Why? Like, that is so low effort. That's so low fucking effort. And this is the thing that, I've been somebody who's very much so like, I'm pro boost. And the best argument that I've heard so far is I was watching a YouTuber, I forget his name. I do want to give him credit really quickly.
Solheim, I think it was.
Yeah, Solheim. His argument was slippery slope, but I don't like the slippery slope fallacy. But what he said was, it's not a slippery slope of like price of like, oh, they can keep introducing these things. It's effort versus reward. And if you teach Blizzard that you can buy, they will make money if they have mount designers and you'll pay $15 for the mount, and they keep doing that, and that's how they make all their money, they'll just hire more mount designers instead of more designers who actually work on the game and make people have longer subscriptions or make people want to play the game or more content or raids. So his argument was the cash shop is bad because it teaches Blizzard they can put very little effort in for a major reward, and they don't reallocate those resources to hire designers who work on things that earn them money in a different way that's not direct, right? It's the same thing with like how esports was with Riot Games was, esports was a black hole of money. Like literally Riot Games throws millions of dollars into their esports department. And how did the esports department get them any money back? It's like, well, maybe, people play the game more or are less likely to quit the game or want to play right after they see an LCS match, right? It's like, is that it? And that's something that you can't measure from like a KPI perspective. Like, how do you actually measure that? Eventually they were like, okay, we have sponsors for this. And then on top of that, they were like, the other one was there's now specific esports skins. So esports allows for skin lines to happen when people like win a tournament, and they allow special deals where it's like, oh, Bjergsen played Poppy with this skin. Let's put it on the like on sale for 20% right now on the store, and then see how it sells, right? Does it push sales? And so that's how that ended up becoming a thing. But here it's like raid designing, making good raids is 100% going to give people a reason to play, and they'll keep their subscriptions, or they're more likely to play and continue playing. So I like the argument of the cash shop is bad because it teaches them that they can do low effort things. And if the Hearthstone and the Path of Illidari are going to be in TBC and it's like $15 for all this shit, and the only thing they really had to do was design a mount, that's bullshit. So yeah, that I cannot defend as anything but a money grab. I like collector's editions. I'm telling you right now, like, I get it. That Sephiroth statue for like, $200 probably cost them like, $5 to $10 to make, right? And you bought the collector's edition because you're a fan. Like, I get collector's edition items. I totally understand. They're novel, all that shit. But it just feels like,
it's not so much that you're against the cash, like the money grab in certain ways. It's just that they've done it in such a lazy, bad way that it's almost like, come on, Blizzard, you gotta at least put some effort, at least make the things that people are paying money for like cool additions to the game. Whereas like this is just copy paste. We're good, guys. We're good. Like, and
so like the first issue I had with it was like the fact that you can't buy the mount by itself in Shadowlands. The other issue I have with it is like it's TBC toys, and I don't like that and they even tied a Shadowlands, like literally you buy this because you're a Shadowlands player, you're paying $70 for game time and amount. Because if you don't ever play TBC, you don't use the boost, the other mount, or any of the toys. So it's irrelevant to you. And that's the issue I have with it. And then the third issue I had with it was, is it something that's account wide? Because like I can literally make a Draenei and then have this and then be like, will every new character have it when I make this? Because I'm essentially paying a premium to have, I think Epic Mounts get changed from 900 gold down to like 300 or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
it's like they swapped the order where like the money isn't tied to the like the skill and the mount swap. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's something like they lower the amount of gold it takes to get epic riding. So it's going to save you a decent amount of gold when you make new characters. And in fact, it's one of those things where if you level boost up, you're going to have this mount immediately if you buy this. So it's it's actually it can add up to be a lot to allow you to transition and have an easier time with all of your future characters. And people talk about like, pay to win type things. I think this is the closest you could get right now without being like completely obvious about a pay to win advantage where you're paying for a way to have a mount on every single character in the future without having to, run around and gather a bunch of gold every single time or transfer gold.
It's funny, last week we were talking about where the line is for people, because we were talking about, okay, where's the line for Blizzard? Like, you're okay with the boost, but you're not okay once they've crossed a certain line. I think this week has just shown us how where the line is for a lot of people. A lot of people are like, yeah, Blizzard, you're kind of stepping across that line now. Yeah. You're reaching that line. And it's funny that we spent, like 2-3 podcast episodes, we were like, Blizzard is making good changes. They're finally listening. They're making good things. And then they kind of pull a 180 and do this. And goodbye to all the faith that they built up over the last few weeks with the good changes, because now everyone's just like, I guess Blizzard's being Blizzard now.
Now, maybe there's a psychological phenomenon. Okay, this will earn you things at the end of the day. A psychological phenomenon of like catastrophes and then going back, or having people react to something and then making it not as bad. It's the whole thing where, like, if you want to tell your parents that you got an F, instead call them and tell them that you got your girlfriend pregnant, and and then like have them react to that and be like, I don't want the kid and stuff like that, and like we're fighting all this stuff, and then you at the end you go like, oh, actually no, she's not pregnant, I just got an F on a test, and they'll be like, oh my god, that's like, it's still bad, but like, holy shit, like it's that type of thing. What if they end up like, being like, here's this thing, $70, and then people are like, what the fuck? And then they're like, we're just kidding, it's not $70. You can buy it like each part individually. It's totally fine. And then people will be like, oh, okay, that's still bad, but like, it's okay. Like maybe they're doing that. Who knows? But they should do that in this case. You should listen, back it up. People are gonna buy shit still if they want it or need it. But this is too. God, what was it? I think I think I said this to you, and I wanted to say this on a podcast. Was the video game industry has changed in the last few years, basically because of free to play games, and even like Riot Games making a free to play game like League of Legends that did so well. It's become standard in the gaming industry that bad business is good and good business is fucking bad. So if you're a gaming company and you want to have players that like you got to do bad business moves. You got to give them free shit. You got to do all this other stuff where you just make them like you more. You got to like talk with them, all that shit, right? You have to be able to give to your players and make them opt into supporting you. So it's bad business to do that from like a corporate standpoint. And in the gaming industry now, if you do good business, it's fucking bad. Your players hate the shit out of you. You're not going to have that audience retention. So like gamers really don't like good business moves from companies. They absolutely hate them. So the good business moves are now bad business moves. When will Zirene stop jerking right off? Well, here's the thing: is they legitimately are responsible for this, and it comes from my experience. And it, honestly, I think it's like really, really fucking relevant here because when they do bad business moves, and like I've even been in like meetings with like the CEO back in the day and the president, and they were talking like they are not good businessmen, but that's what made the company good, is because they cared about players, right? And Blizzard's not caring about their players right now. And that's the thing that I think is becoming more and more evident, is they are not on your side right now. They're on the business side. They don't feel like they're your ally here.
It's really disappointing because Blizzard in particular, right now, they're actually making more money. I think someone was talking about how they're actually making, like, the financials of the company are actually looking better because of this decision. But I think it's one of those things where you sacrifice the long term for the short term gain, and it's going now. They've reached the line where now they're gonna make the decision: are we gonna keep sacrificing that long term vision? Because now we're gonna start reaching the point of no return soon, where you've just completely lost the player faith. Because before you had like guys like me and Zirene were on your side with some of this stuff, but these things now we're reaching the line where like I don't want to cross this line anymore. We've reached the line where I think you guys gotta chill before you sacrifice the entire long term vision of WoW.
What is the name of the Star Wars mobile game that EA has? The one you play on your phone. Oh God. Is it the Galaxy of Heroes? I think it might be Galaxy of Heroes.
Yeah, Galaxy of Heroes.
Yeah. So that game, so EA actually like loves that game and uses it as their business model and like what is good now, because it was one of their most profitable games by a long shot. And it's a microtransaction game, and it's why they've started doing that with all the other games where people had issues with like Battlefront and all those things, because the companies are now like moving towards microtransactions more and more, and it's especially in like a scummy way, and like in that game is very much so like pay to win, right? That's very much like a pay to win game. And that's something that I think it's like the East, I guess is how I'll say it. Like China and Korea have almost never had an issue with pay to win games, almost ever. And in fact, like you can look at games like that, like what's that one company, Nexon, right?
Yeah, Nexon. Yeah, everywhere.
Nexon has always been pay to win. They've always been pay to fucking win, dude. Vindictus, like all that shit. People really haven't had an issue with pay to win in the East. And it's something that like we as Westerners like really dislike. And it's something that I think companies, when they do it, they get rewarded because enough people opt in. But the way you have to like, I hate to say it, but the way you have to like kind of make them change is like, when this comes out, like don't buy it, right? It's like, don't buy the collector's edition. Because if it's $70 and you even have the money to do it, just don't buy it. Don't reinforce it, right? Don't reinforce that this is okay. So,
yeah, I was looking at the stats now.
I just hate it.
Over $900 million in the lifetime revenue for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. That was in 2019. That's an old stat as well. They probably made more than that at this point.
It's a $200 million a year game. So yeah, it's a mobile game.
Man, it's just it's so disappointing sometimes. It's one of those reasons people ask me why I've like never taken I've never done. People joke about Raid Shadow Legends and such on my streams and all of that, but they've actually approached me a few times before, and I've denied them, and same with a couple other mobile companies, because at some point I feel like everyone has to make their own stand on like where do you feel the line is for you guys, because as much as like streamers and such like to joke about the Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship, but by accepting these sponsorships, like we're only enabling them even more, even though we're memeing about it and making jokes about the fact that they are pay to win exploitative mobile game.
Yeah, I like what my friend did. I think my friend's a fucking genius and doesn't even realize it. My roommate Captain Flowers, he's like a commentator for esports and the League of Legends and stuff. And he got sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. And what he did with his stream is he was like, "All right, boys, look, these guys sponsor a bunch of people. We know what they are. But if you guys support me, let's meet these goals, make them pay me. And if you get to this level that, you know, puts the ticker up 1 and stuff like that, and you can reach the goals, I'm gonna put you in a raffle for me to cast your solo queue games, right? So it's kind of like, you do me a favor, I'm gonna do you guys a favor in return. And let's be completely honest about this. You guys are gonna make me money here off this company that, you know, you guys might not necessarily like, but, you know, they're gonna give me money. And if you don't buy anything in the game, then, you know, that's fine. They didn't make anything off that. But I'm gonna cast your games or put you in a raffle to cast your games, and I'll like pick 5 winners type things, right? So it's like, you send me a screenshot to this email with your like Twitch username, and I'm gonna put you in a raffle. And then I just thought that was fucking brilliant, because that made people want to play the game for other reasons than playing the game, right?
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many Raid Shadow Legends streamers just be like, Raid Shadow Legends, look at this fucking game, it is so great.
I can't stand it when they're playing the game and you're like, oh man, I could totally see myself playing this game in my afternoons. This is something I'd totally be doing. And you know that it's a horrible game, guys. It's not a fun game. Like, this is why I'm actually okay with Genshin Impact to a certain level, because if you play Genshin Impact, that game's actually fun. It's like exploitative, like money grubbing game, but at least it's a fun game. But I can't say the same for things like Raid Shadow Legends, where I'm like, guys, there's better games. I don't want to be like forcing this down on you and then pretending this is also a fun game. This is not a fun game.
Yeah, it's disingenuous to your audience, or disingenuine to your audience, and that's the problem that I have with those types of things. But I also, just so everybody knows, when you get handed a contract like that, you have to read it very thoroughly, because there are NDAs in there that there's 2 NDAs. There's non-disclosure agreement and there's non-disparagement agreement. So the non-disparagement agreement, or non-disclosure, is like the one where people can't talk about shit like that happens behind the scenes. It's like, oh, this is secret, I can't talk to you about X, Y, or Z. And non-disparagement agreement is you cannot talk negatively about them. Right?
Really?
So yeah. So if you accept the money, you cannot talk negatively about them on stream, which means that you're a bit neutered in terms of what you can say about them. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Well, good news, guys. I did not take either of those mobile sponsorships, so I can talk shit about them all I want.
Yep. It happens all the time. It's just to protect their brand, right?
So for people,
it's in the business's best interest, right? Businesses don't operate in like, if we have a good product, you will buy it, or you will give us an honest review. It's like what is that? Was it IGN or whatever? Where there was that whole thing where it was like, this game, you know, it misses the mark, the graphics are a little off, and the gameplay isn't fluid, and the story needs a lot of work. 9 out of 10. Like, it was like, wait, what? So that it was a thing like that where it feels like you can't always talk about the game honestly, and people don't want you to, because it's negative press and people just want positive. Game companies don't want you to give their game a 5 out of 10, even if it's like, you know, constructive feedback. And the game might be better because of it in the future. They don't want you to do that shit. It makes people not want to play the game. So,
yeah. I mean, the reviews are a whole different area. I used to do snowboard reviews as well. And there was always the ongoing joke. Anytime you review something, the base level is like a 7. So the actual 1 to 10 scale is 7 to 10. Because if you give it less than a 7, like, the companies hate you. So like everyone that reviews is like, oh, the bad ones are 7, which is still like a 70% pass.
Yeah, so like, that's the thing is, it's a 5 is not average. It's 7 is average, because it's a C, right? It's the whole grading system of like C, B, A, and D, or I guess D, C, B, A, and F and stuff like that. So companies, if you give them anything lower than a 7, they really, really don't like you, and they may not work with you again in the future or offer you any future promotions. So, you know, that's how things work.
But yeah, to explain to people just before we move on, how those mobile sponsorships work and why the streamers kind of push them is because you get paid extra for how many installs you get, and if people sign up and buy like a cash shop item in the game, you get a bonus as well. Like, they track those metrics, and then if you hit targets within the game, the streamer advertising the game gets bonuses, and it adds up to a lot of money. Like, even for a small streamer like me, when I look at the mobile sponsorships and how much they were willing to pay like a 100, 150 viewer streamer like me, I'm like, holy shit, guys, this is a lot of money for like doing this. And Like they can pay
They
you that
hustle.
because they know they're gonna make more off that. Like if they pay you
They-
$200, it's because they're gonna make $300 off the people that you get to play this game.
Yeah, they hustling, dude. They hustling. And here's all right. So like the way that sponsorship works is like you said, you hit a target, you'll make X amount from, just working with them. You hit a target that's really low. They're like, this is what you'll make. You'll make the few $1,000s. And then if you hit this larger target, they're just like, we're going to give you a ton of money. They actually gave, I was actually shocked. And I know, like, I work in the entertainment industry and I know like how much people make off of certain things. I was shocked by like the number that you needed to get this large ass number and it being incredibly low. So in terms of like the number of people you needed. But the other thing on top of it was they also in the contract will reimburse you like up to $300 of the money you spend on the game. So they'll allow you to spend like $300 in the game to buy things to show people how it works. So to kind of demonstrate.
Yeah, I hate so much about this.
But I don't blame people who do it because it is a hustle, man. Just like I don't blame the hot tub streamers, So it's a hustle. Oh.
All right. So to move on to one of the many topics we have so much content today. The content stream podcast.
It is. If we go off topic, we're fucked. Like we already have. So
because do you have work at some point? You could like a GDKP or something?
I got a raid at like 3, which is in 2 hours and 45 minutes. So not a problem.
We should be okay. So rated arena. I guess we can talk about that. That went in as well. Let me share. So Blizzard is changing how it used to work. In original TBC, rated arena gear, so capping, needing to hit certain rating levels to get the gear, didn't happen until Season 3. This time they're bringing it in for Season 1. And there's a lot of pushback from the community. And they're completely not only doing this, but also revamping the entire arena system as far as the point system goes.
Okay. So what they're pushing back, community's pushing back on.
Well, I've seen two sides pushing back. I've seen some people that are okay about the actual rating requirements, and I've seen some people argue the point that this could reduce arena participation. But I will say I've seen a little bit of misinformation there in some of the evidence provided. So I've seen a lot of people show this. I'll show this on screen. Shown this graph from retail where they show that barely anyone hits the 1700 rating that you need to get to like that first level of gear. So if you actually look at the gear required, I think it's like 1700 in the past has been like kind of like a okay level. And you can see here that barely anyone reaches 1700 rating on retail right now as far as arena participation. But you have to keep in mind that the system is completely revamped for TBC. It's not functioning the same.
Can you swap the brackets on this to like 3v3? Yeah.
So 3v3 is 1785 is the 90th percentile.
Because like there's a lot of people who dabble in arena and will like play it a little bit. And it was the same way back then. I'm not sure. I kind of liked the start at 1500 and then the points were immediately like plus 15, minus 15, and it was a climb because it's like an elo system that I was used to. Starting from 0 and like losing 0 for your first like 20 matches and getting like 90 if you win feels real fucking weird. Like I was playing like Ret Paladin Warlock with some other guy who was playing like Demonology Warlock with a Felguard. It is not good, and we went like 12 and 10 overall because like it just doesn't work, and we ended up at like 1300.
Yeah. So
and I was like, you can literally just keep losing and it's fine, and like it feels like a system that just rewards you for playing, not so much for winning.
Yeah, so to just quickly explain to people how the new systems work. So in the past, if we were going back into the actual classic TBC, you would start at 1500, then you get plus minus like 15 or plus 15 minus 15, depending on if you win. And then you climb up to whatever, 2200 if you want a gladiator. And there were no rating requirements and things. But the way it's working right now in the beta is up to about like 1500, you don't lose points and you start at 0. So you start at 0 and then you gain almost like 100 points. I have screenshots here to show people. So
Like
this
plus
is
96.
this is mere this is at, let me see, what is his rating at?
It's plus 96.
Yeah, plus 96. His team is 1000 rating right now. He got plus 96 and you can see the person losing at 1500. They only lose -2.
They lost 2 in a 500 elo gap.
Yeah. 500 elo gap and then lost 2.
I mean, maybe this is a better system at the end of the day, all right? Because I'll tell you straight up, I was a rank 1 paladin in season 3 and 4. Or I was a rank 1 player on Holy Paladin, which was not a good class, in season 3 and 4. And I fucking hated the games because you would queue and it would take you like 15 minutes to get into a queue because there's not that many people at the top. Then you would eventually get matched with somebody who's lower than you because you're number 1. And if you beat them, you get 8 points. If you lose to them, you lose 24 points. So if you fuck up and lose, it takes you like 2 hours to even get back to where you were point-wise. So it actually didn't become worth it to play more than 10 games a week just to keep the top, right?
Yeah.
Right? And that's the problem, is it incentivized people who were at the top to either make new teams or, it's basically like the problem that happens in League of Legends where people have to like go play Smurfs on stream because the queues are too long. Or you like mess up and boom, that's 2 hours of work that you have to just kind of make up.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. It's terrible. I have a story about this. It was so bad. It was so bad at the time. And I played Paladin Warrior. And we were going against a Druid Warrior, which is a very fucking long matchup. It is very long. I had to use the bathroom. And I was like, do we just throw this thing? Like fucking like I had to go like real fucking bad, dude. This is before like I realized I had like ulcerative colitis because I ended up having like a intestinal issue. And I was just like, it was like, okay, either I play this game and we play it until we win, and I don't have to spend the next 2 hours trying to get that rating back if I lose, or I can shit my pants, win this game, and clean up in 30 minutes. So I shit my pants. I actually shit my pants while playing Arena one time because it wasn't worth it to sit in the queues and then try to use 2 hours of my time to get the points back if I got up and left. And then, like, so it was, see, that's like the cost benefit analysis is it was better to shit my pants than lose that arena in terms of rating. So maybe this is a better change, because back then 2400 was number one. 2400 was number one. Almost nobody hit 2200 and had shoulders. If you were 2200, you were basically in the gladiator range.
Yeah.
2400 is when you would get like the vengeful or merciless or brutal, right? Here, you're going to see people at 3K. You're going to see people easily at like 3K, kind of like the retail system, right? 3K plus. So it's going to be a really different / inflated system. And I'm really interested to see where it ends up overall, or if it clamps down and it kind of just gets people to 1500 and then it goes, now you have the real ELO system kick in, which then just feels like, why would you do that in the first place? But
yeah, it's interesting with the 1500 thing, because the fact that you don't lose anything up to 1500. So it almost feels like up till 1500 you're doing, to compare it to League of Legends, it's like you're doing your placement matches, where it's like people in the chat have said like you're building like a bigger MMR profile of yourself, or they're trying to figure out where you fit in the system. It's kind of like funky. Everyone's still experimenting to see how this system actually works. But if it's inflated, it might mean that some of these ratings are a lot easier to hit. Like, you're gonna be like,
I would say so.
Hit like the weapon, like people are trying to think about this in terms of the old system, when we have to kind of change our mindset. Because if this new system is inflated, like looking at 2200 for shoulders might be something like similar to like a 1900 rating or whatever it is in the past. So these ratings might not be equivalent to what we're actually thinking in our head.
I actually think that is how it's going to be. I firmly believe that the rating system, based on what I've seen right now, is going to be very easy to get your shoulders or your weapon, especially for players who are good at Arena. If you're not good at Arena, you're probably just going to get up to like 1800, and then weapons are, a little bit out of reach, because it does take skill to get to 2K plus, even in like it takes skill, repetition, and actually wanting to learn to get like 2K plus, even in retail. So I get that aspect of it, but I based on what I've seen, feel like this is Blizzard being like, how do we make them chase the dopamine? Because back in the day, you start at 1500 and you lose a few games, you go fuck this team, you disband it, you make a new one, right? Because the MMRs with the team, the elos with the team. So like there's gonna be stories about people getting kicked from teams and like, you know, all that shit, because it's not your own like it is in retail, right? It's not your own personal rating. It's it's this. So it's very different where you have teams. And so back then you would make a team at 1500 and then you'd lose a few games and then you'd like inspect somebody and they have like a 1400 team and you're like, this guy is an absolute fucking shitter. Like, how do you have below 1500? And it was actually like a big point of contention. Now it's like everybody starts at 0, so you can't actually be like a visibly bad player right off the bat, and people will be able to get to like 1200, 1300, 1400 by playing. So it's kind of like if you play your first few games and it gets you to 1500, that's better than starting at 1500 and then having you go down immediately, because going down immediately feels terrible. Whereas going up and being like, oh, I wasn't punished for losing 2 games, I still got 96 for this win, even though I was at 0, that just feels better, right? It just feels better. So from a feels perspective, it's a better system. From a like competitive perspective, it's going to be one that I think is more inflated. So
yeah, that's actually interesting. You mentioned the feels better thing, because literally the other day I was just having this discussion. I think I was off stream. I was doing Karazhan with Savix and a few of the retail guys, and we were talking about what do we play when we're not playing WoW, and they brought up TFT. And then I think one of them said like, "Oh yeah, I'm like bronze 3 or something in TFT," and everyone just started ragging on him because you start at like silver or like mid silver or something, and we're like, "Dude, how did you get down to bronze? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
What mistakes did you make with your life?"
You have to try. Like this was my theory for a while. Was, you know, the people who are in like iron, when they introduced iron, which was a lower tier than bronze, I was like, you have to try to be in iron. Like my friend actually had an account that was stuck in iron and he was a gold player and he remade his account later and got gold like instantly. What happened was his MMR was so low that he got down to iron, and he wasn't like a super big carry player. He was like a supportive team player. And that's not really supported there. It's not going to help you climb, because if you are iron, there is something actively wrong with the way you play. It's either like you're going to run into people who have bad internet connection. That's where they go because they keep losing games. That's where the ragers go. That's where the inters go. People who have like anger issues, who flame their teammates, who don't know how to like stop engaging or run it down, or even just keep their mental in the game, or have a stable internet connection, they end up in iron. And if you end up there with them, you're coin flipping every game of whether or not you're going to have 4 or 5 teammates, and somebody just leaves or disconnects. Like legitimately. It was actually like I watched him at one time and he's like, no, it's really a problem. And I watched him for like 3 hours when I was over at his house, and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like it was actually like unwinnable. Like if you had to be like a diamond level player or a platinum level player to get out of those games and like solo carry them. So it's really interesting with like the MMR system and how it feels. The other thing here though that I do want to touch on is boosting in arenas. They are implementing some things to really prevent boosting. Did you see what they ended up doing?
Isn't it you start at 1000 now for a new member?
It might be here. You might scroll down a little bit on this. It might be there.
To qualify for a single reward, your personal arena rating needs to be within 100 points of your team's rating, and you must have participated in 20% of your team's games.
And there was another thing too. Hold on, let me.
Yeah, to qualify for arena points, your personal rating must be within 150 of the rating of your team, with at least 10 games played, and you must have participated in 30% of your team's games the previous week.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That is like, if you want to boost now, it takes 2 weeks for somebody to start getting points, right? Legitimately, what's going to happen with boosting is it's like you have to play by yourself, get your points, and then be like, I have enough points to get the weapon, but I don't have the rating. And then somebody will boost you to your weapon, right? Because getting more points out of a team feels like it's going to be a lot harder to do. And the fact that you have to participate in 30% of the team's games the previous week, that feels really weird because I feel like that, I don't know, man. How's that going to fucking work when I want to make a new team with my boys? Do I just not get arena points the next week? Is making a new team at the cost of my arena points for the week?
This is only making me think more that I'm doing the right thing by having 3 rogues, so that I can just play on PvP whatever I want with my second rogue. But looking at this, do you think we're gonna reach a meta where like the big servers like the Fairlinas, the white mains of WoW are going to have some ridiculous like streamlined boosting system in place where you're gonna join like a Discord and be like, okay, this is how much gold you guys pay, this is what you're gonna pay for this rating. Because surely there's going to be these entrepreneurial point guys that know how to work the system.
Yep, 100%. We'll make a team on Tuesday. We'll make a team on Monday. We'll play like a few games together. We'll play like 10 games. So we get them in for the week. And then on Tuesday, we'll play all the games. So Monday, technically the week before, we'll make a team. Boom, sign you up. Here you go. Tuesday, then we play all the games and shit like that. We leave you with the team. And then I go boost somebody else's points for the next week. So you can boost 2 people a week. And I think the big thing here is it's just a 2-week process, right? Yeah. So this is how I would do it. Is I would play like 10 games with you, right? And then I would leave the team, go play 10 games with another person, go play 10 games with another person, keep leaving the teams. So I have like 20 people who have like, the setup for the next week. Then when I go in the next week, they invite me to the team again, and then I just play with them then, and then I leave the team, get them their points, and I leave, and I do that. So you can boost multiple people a week just by joining teams a week before, playing with them, and then leaving. Also, if the person has played or has like a shit team, they can invite the booster to it, right? And they already have the previous week. So sure. I don't think it's going to be a big issue. I think the number one way to boost people is going to be fucking 5s, which is going to be expensive. It's going to be expensive as shit because you're paying 4 people for their time. And my friends are already working on this. Like very, very infamous boosters like RBG boosters. And I hate one of these guys, by the way, because I was playing retail and he was like, come help me boost. And so I helped him boost one day. And I sat there and I was like, this is like really hard. Like we're winning, but this is like really hard. And then I was like, why like this is really hard, dude. We should just get everybody in Discord. Why are there only 3 of us in Discord? And he's like, because everyone else is a buyer. And I was like, I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm optimizing my time. I'm like, you are RBGing with 7 fucking buyers who don't know the other people are buyers. And there's only 3 carries in this thing. Yeah, he was like, yeah, we have the Holy Paladin, we have the Druid for flag running, and he can go like boomkin on other maps. And then there's me, the Rogue, who does flag ninjaing and shit like that on like Eye of the Storm. And I was like, I'm like, you're a fucking genius, but I fucking hate you at the same time. Like, holy shit. Like it was so hard. And I was like, these games, like, I'm a competitive person. Like, these games were hard, dude. We like lose a bunch, and then it still didn't matter because RBG rating is inflated as fuck. But he makes bank off that shit, dude. Like, he makes bank. Holy shit. So yeah. 5 is going to be a way to boost people, and there's 100% going to be ways to boost people. But I like that they're trying to stop that. I like that they're trying, but it's not going to.
A for effort. Yeah. Because yeah, if anything can be abused, they're going to be abused. Like the players will find a way.
I equate this to kind of like the drum changes, where it's like, with the drum changes, it's like, let's make these more inconvenient to use. People are still going to use them, right? It doesn't matter. People are still going to use the drums because they're the best thing. And it's like, let's make it really inconvenient to boost in arenas. And it's like, that's not going to stop people. They're just going to charge more for it because it's more inconvenient. Like, it actually just hurts the buyer when you make it harder to boost people.
I mean, if anything, it'll become like GDKPs, really right? Where there's a big difference between a really good GDKP and a really badly run GDKP. So I feel that's what's going to happen with the boosting scene is the boosters will just realize, or the GDKP runners will just realize all the money's to be made in boosting now. and they'll just optimize that to a crazy level.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be like crazy comps, dude. There's gonna be like the 4 elemental shaman composition with the booster, and they all run in and they NS chain lightning.
I mean, there's a
one
reason
dude.
fives isn't in retail anymore, right? I think they took that out.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Fives is not.
it's impossible to balance, and it's really easy to boost people in fives because it's just about coordinating burst, and when you have so much burst, like people just instantly melt.
Oh yeah, here come the 4 palm pyro mages, dude. Oh god, it's so funny. Because in arenas, essentially, you just have to kill one person. That's kind of why I feel like it's going to be not like I've been talking about, like, arenas 3v3s being like a spectator sport. It's much more viewable and like watchable than like retail, but there's still the issue of one person dies in 3s and then everybody else leaves because it's over. So it's not really like climactic or anything like that. In 5s, one person dies and like then it's just clean up from there because they have 20% less abilities. So yeah.
Question for you though.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the rating requirements then, or that they're putting this in? Because knowing that if they keep the system, the MMRs and the ELOs, everything's going to be pretty inflated. So initially, I thought like I wasn't sure if I liked it because I like any system that encourages as many people to play as possible. But thinking about it more, when I thought about, but the systems, the numbers are going to be so inflated, like getting 2,000 rating might actually not be that hard if everything's inflated. So what are your thoughts on this?
So my thoughts on this are, this is once again kind of like Blizzard being classic, but also being retail at the same time. And what I mean by that is back in the day, classic was hard, difficult. You almost never saw like anybody have Naxxramas gear, right? Like people having KT gear was like a big thing. You'd see somebody with like shoulders from Huhuran as like a warrior, and you're like, fuck, dude, that guy, like we've talked about this before, right? It's like that guy has the Conqueror shoulders, dude. Yeah. That guy's a badass. Here, it's going to be the same thing where it's like, that guy's got arena shoulders. Well, I guess he fucking plays. Like, or like get your arena weapons if you're a rogue, right? It's like a requirement type thing for rates. It's just, honestly, it's going to be less prestigious. The thing that's going to matter is the titles. People would be competitive for the titles. The gear, I don't think, will be that competitive anymore.
Do you think it's going to hurt participation?
No. If anything, I think it'll improve participation because getting the gear will help you raid or PvP better. So being able to get weapons at 2050, which I believe back in the day was 1850, which still was hard to get. And keep in mind, 1850 was only 350 rating above where you started, right? And it was fucking hard to get weapons. People like struggled to get them. So here I think it's like, I think people, I don't think it'll stop people from participating. I think a lot of people will participate, but I don't think they'll go up to like shoulders. I think they'll get the weapon and then they'll stop. But it'll like make people get to a point and stop, kind of like retail. Like you saw the what was it? It was like people stop at like 1800. They hit a break point for like the gear, where it's like anything past that is actually hard. So you don't want to play past that 1800, right? So you're just like, people get there and stop. So I can see it being like, okay, people get to 2000 and then they stop, right? Or 2050 and then they stop because everything past that is hard and 150 more rating for shoulders isn't worth it. So past that point, I think you'll see more and more competitive people. So I think 2K plus will be where it gets really competitive, or 2200 plus. So even if it's like, people have 3K and shit like that. So I feel like it's not terrible. I don't think it'll hurt participation, but I think it's going to make everything less prestigious, right? Because back in the day, it's like that guy had shoulders, and there's only like maybe like 20 people on your server who have shoulders, and they're all like in the same teams. So
I actually like the title things that they're putting in though. Like there's going to be a unique rank 1 title. Although it is interesting that they went with the change that they did. Kind of people were discussing before, where rank 1 is now not rank 1, but the top 0.1% of teams.
It's so fucking funny, dude. Like, because here's the thing: is I actually was a rank 1, and you would call yourself rank 1. Now it's like people on like the beta are like rank 1 they're like rank 1 resto shaman looking for, person. I'm like, "Oh, rank 1, like where are your stats? Like, can I see this?" And then I see it and they're like top like 20. And I'm like, "Wait, is that rank 1?" They're like, "Yeah, it gets you the title." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "What?" So like apparently like private servers have this too. So I was like, okay, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it because I kind of like the old unique rank 1 where it brought about like half of the stuff that you will read about as far as like drama or end of season shenanigans where there was a lot of like back and forth between the PvP teams was around the rank 1 titles because that rank 1 was prestigious. It was so hard to be rank 1, especially in somewhere like BG9, like the hardest bracket. And now it's going to be like, well, now there's a lot more of those guys because 0.1% is small, but with the inflated number of the servers and everything, 0.1% might actually be like a decent chunk of teams.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I was thinking about this the other day and I was like, it says teams, right? It doesn't say like players or unique players. So I was like, is it possible? Because I don't know if you guys remember in the Grand Marshal Classic days, there were pool parties. You know what those are?
Yeah, the boosting the bracket, boosting the amount of teams.
Yeah, people would boost the number of people in brackets by making level 1s, getting enough honorable kills to like come up and be on the list, and then you guys would exchange servers. So you'd make a bunch of gnomes, and you would just do that over and over and over again. So you'd do a bunch of pool parties like that, and you would just inflate the pool on the server so more people could get into the upper bracket for honor and stuff like that, or for God, I forgot what it's called, the points that you get for your progression towards your next rank. And I'm like, are there going to be people you can pay to like make teams, play games on them, and then have them be held by like a dummy character and just keep doing that? So like you could have like people with accounts making 10 plus teams in like 5s or 2s or things like that, right? Because the 5s bracket's going to be the least populated, right? And so you can inflate that one pretty easily, right? Because if you think about it, if I make 10 teams by having the same 5 people just like play together and then leave it with one person, they keep doing that over and over again so the team stays, that's almost the same as 50 people playing, right? It's like in terms of like teams in 5v5, 10 teams is 50 people, but I could actually just make that be 10 people just holding accounts. So I don't know if that's going to happen because bracket inflation in the modern day is something that, people will do. They will do that. So there's going to be some way to manipulate this system in some way, shape, or form. And there might be win trading at the end of the season is the thing that I'm scared of.
Yeah.
Is the win trading and the boosting of your friend. Because it is very easy, or it was very easy, to snipe people in arenas as a high-rated player. So there will be ways for people who are in the top 0.5 to get to the top 0.1 by nuking somebody else into the ground during off hours, like 3 a.m. arenas with just trying to queue into you because I'm paying you, because you'll stay in the top 0.5, right? You'll get that top 0.5 back. But if I'm going to pay you for Classic Gladiator or Infernal Gladiator, you can boost me a good 100 points before, or 200 points even, before we stop queuing against each other if it's dead of night. So
yeah, I mean, I remember back in the day that was how I got to 2200 the first time on one of my characters. That we took 200 points of one other team because we kept queuing into them.
Boosting.
Not boosting, but like
by coincidence.
We were actually purposely trying to snipe this one team because we know that we had the number. Our comp just shit on them, so we were just like, okay, we're just gonna keep queuing. Every time they queue, we queue, and that's how we got the Gladiator. We just took 200 points off this one team. We didn't play a single other team.
Yep. It was like there was a team that could beat us almost every time. And we just wouldn't play against them. We would be like, we would add them to friends list, see when they enter an arena, and then we would queue. Right. But the queues were so long that, the games were long too. So we would typically get in. And sometimes we would just say like, no, it's not worth it right now to actually like queue because these guys are there. It's just because the composition, they weren't necessarily better players, but the composition just beat ours. Like it was you could win, but God, dude, do you really want to shit your pants to know? uh,
Okay. So anything you want to say about PvP talk before we move on?
um, I'm really excited because I know a lot of organizations are already looking at these types of things for like tournaments. Like I think there's a tournament this Saturday by Asmongold. I think is when it's happening is Saturday. I got invited to participate in it, but I'm raiding, and I told them no. But it also means there's going to be like more casting gigs in the future, and that's something that I'm excited about because I want to do that. But yeah, I know some orgs are already picking up like potential
PvP.
3v3
Yeah,
tournaments.
it's interesting. I'm excited to see where the scene goes, even for like just the viewership base and like, it'd be cool if Blizzard. I don't expect them to because I know that like I've lost my faith in them. But it would be cool if they got behind some of this stuff and then they offer like cool rewards for some of these tournament things. Maybe like here's how you can add cosmetic things. Add cosmetic things for the people that like win tournaments and things. I think that would be a cool prestige thing to add to Classic WoW.
People have been talking about this chrono boon thing where it's like the chrono boon won't be usable in pre-patch, will be usable in pre-patch. They just clarified or verified. There's like breaking news stuff. I'm still worried because to my knowledge, Alliance can't get
WCB.
Can't get the War Chief's Blessing in pre-patch because faction doesn't drop anymore when you change. So I don't know.
Yeah. So
get my control stuff.
So for people that can't read the chat, basically, Blizzard just confirmed that Chrono Boom will be in the pre-patch, which is nice because I'm used to the Chrono Boom meta now. I can't go back, guys. I can't go back to the days when I had to worry about my buffs.
Can't go back.
But that said, WCB might actually be Horde only because I don't think you can get WCB as an Alliance character. The mind control doesn't work anymore. So yeah, no more WCB for Alliance once pre-patch hits probably.
I mean, oh no, 2 weeks. And my leveling. My leveling. Yeah. My leveling for the hour where I have to make it in somehow without dying.
So we must as well cover this while we're on the topic of Blizzard. They announced that there's no more third-party software allowed for anything that will mirror your keystrokes. Yeah. So this basically ends multi-boxing for the most part, unless you're true boxing. So I don't know if they're gonna start using this term, seeing as they have Holly Longdale in charge from EverQuest. So in EverQuest days, they call this true boxing, where they ban anything where the person is using software or anything to mirror the keystrokes, so that if you want to have more than one account played at the same time, you had to literally have a second keyboard, second mouse, and like a second computer. And it didn't stop EverQuest players, guys, because when sweaty players want to be sweaty, what happens is they go on Craigslist and they buy $200 laptops to run their second accounts and such, and they just it was actually a common sight for sweaty EverQuest players to have 3 to 4 laptops around them, because that was the way they could multi-box. They were just true boxing, and they couldn't get banned because they were actually inputting every keystroke. Then they just make macros to kind of get around the fact that they have to press individual buttons. They have special macros on every key. But it does limit it to a lot. I think this is a good change personally, but what do you think? I'm actually not a big fan of too much multi-boxing.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it was like something where they had already banned, I believe, like software or something or hardware, and now they're just banning the other one, right? And just making sure that they're crossing their T's, dotting their I's, Xing their D's, and making sure that everything's good. So
so I think this is fine. I'm okay with that because I was looking ahead to the TBC 5v5s where you run into that with a 5-boxing elemental shaman. That was around back in the day. Those guys running around.
Yeah, I think his name was AELLIE. It's like Aili Shaman, elemental shaman. But yeah, it's some multi-boxer who played back then, and I ran into him. And he was streaming on like some random ass platform. It wasn't Twitch or anything like that. It was like something where you go in and it just looks like a sketchy website. And I remember him queuing and getting into Nagrand Arena, and we got into Nagrand, and we told our warrior to wear his full NR set because they blew him up last time. And when he couldn't beat us, he kicked the healer, the shaman in his group, who was the healer, because he's 4-boxing, and then he had a healer with him, and it got a paladin in, and they still lost. So it was like he beat the shit out of us the first time, but because he couldn't kill our warrior anymore, because you just jump in with full NR gear because we knew we were fighting him, there was nothing he could do. So that's also a thing you got to watch out for, is people will have shadow resist sets later on, and if you're like a top warlock or a top like shadow priest, people will wear full SR sets against you in arena. They 100% will.
No, I'm looking forward to those metas, man. That's where it gets interesting once you get into like
add you to friends list.
Yeah. Once you get into those metas where you have to avoid certain people, or like certain comps just don't work because the other person can completely counter you with a gear set and things like that. That's where I think arena gets really interesting. But
it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird.
Yeah. So should we talk about the Karazhan raid test round 2?
Yeah, let's do it.
It was interesting, man. It's funny that I went into that with kind of like the same comp as last time, or kind of lackadaisical, because I was expecting the same Karazhan as the previous time, where you could go in there with whatever you wanted, and Karazhan was Karazhan. It wasn't hard, and we quickly found out it was not the same. Nightbane, quite hard. Shade hilarious times with the Shade. Because for people that don't know, so every other boss didn't seem that bad. Everything else seemed fine. It was just Shade and Nightbane are the two bosses that are quite a lot harder than the first Karazhan test. So Shade in particular, the Blizzard is taking up the entire room at times. I remember like we went in there with our comp, because we have 2 rogues. I was in there with just a whatever comp, and we had 2 rogues, and we were like, guys, how do we get to kill the ads at the same time with the 2 rogues who have to avoid the Blizzard, and we have to go do we have to go coordinate the kicks so that we can pull them in and then Blade Flurry or something? Because the first time we did Karazhan, the Blizzard on Shade wasn't everywhere. So I'll actually play I've got your clip in the background where the Shade is there were big parts of the room where you could go and just avoid the Blizzard. So Shade casts a Blizzard. But it's funny, I did the Karazhan clear, and I was like, is it just me? Does my group just suck that we can't beat Shade easily anymore? Like, is there something wrong with us? And then later I was like, I wonder how Zirene's doing, because surely he's going in with our more pro comp.
My group that had that I actually got people in comms was actually good. And we cleared it no problem. But it felt like every group that didn't have comms was like really gonna struggle with it.
Oh so, yeah, it was funny. I went in there and I was asking, it's like, how is your one looking? And you were many drinks in at that point, I believe. And
oh yeah,
I remember you specifically at one point in one of your clears, you were like, dude, the Blizzard's everywhere. The Blizzard's everywhere. I've got nowhere to run. You're just trying to run around the room. There's no way you could go to avoid the Blizzard.
Yeah, there was no way where I could go, and I had to get counterspelled by him and stand in the middle. But if you like drag him off to the side, but like look at how fast he died. Did you see that? Yeah. You see how fast so the Dragon's Breath right now, I feel like is bugged. Watch how fast Oro dies.
It kills you so fast.
Yeah, it's actually unhealable. It's ridiculously strong. It's unhealable. It's supposed to tick for 1,000, but it ticks for like 4,000. He's just dead. He's dead in 3 ticks. It's actually unhealable. Like you got to like lay on hands somebody who gets Dragon's Breath.
So it's not just my group that was bad then, because we had trouble with that. Both the Blizzard, as you can see, the Blizzard is huge now. It's all over the place, and it's not even the middle. Because in the past, like if I pause, the Blizzard used to avoid the middle of the room, but now the Blizzard sometimes is in the middle of the room as well. And it's like you have to pull Shade somewhere else, otherwise like people are all over the place. And it's tricky because there's that AoE you're trying to avoid by not getting too close and clumped up, because it can silence your casters at the same time. Shade is actually legitimately like you have to really think through and make sure your whole group is working together to kill Shade now. Yep,
these were the adventures of Channing Totem, and they did not end well. It was it's a group where things did fall apart at Shade, but I don't know. It's one of those groups where I honestly feel like right now in Kara, if I'm not playing healer or tank, the group probably won't make it to the end. And the problem is because it's just the agency that I have as a DPS. Like, as like a shaman, there's way less agency. Like I can do interrupts and stuff like that and make sure my totems are always down. But yeah, I played rogue all the way through. Like that's another thing too is I think people are getting a much better idea of where classes stand now.
Yeah.
And I am not backing down from the warrior the idea of warriors being really good. And in fact, I am doubling down now based on logs that I've seen.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Like the best log for a full clear that I've seen has a warrior at the top at 1,200 DPS for a full clear. And then Rain ran with, warlocks and stuff like that. And one of our Fury warriors, one of our top Fury warriors, Draven, did the most damage in the whole thing at like 900 DPS for a full clear. And it's interesting because there aren't many full clears out there right now that are in logs, but I spent like a good 3 hours going through on the Warcraft logs page because it's not just all aggregated or anything like that. It's not all there and easy to like look at in like a list for like, oh, these are the ranks of people. You have to go log by log, and I just haven't found a log that beats the 1,200 or anywhere close to it. Granted, it is somebody who, so many duplicates and failed runs. That's why it takes a long time. But granted, it's somebody who has like the crafted blacksmithing mace that they've gone through like all the trouble of making their character good. So it's not just a straight up template. But Draven in my guild, he's just using a template character and got 900 DPS. So people realizing that you're like supposed to be cleaving, and like that's what warriors do. It seems like people are catching on to that more and more. There's also like if you're a warrior who wants to play, here's the thing: is Fury warriors, there's not going to be enough raid spots for you because you don't bring enough utility outside of AOE damage, and that's why like the physical damage comp with warriors and hunters is one that I think will definitely succeed. But warriors are actually big pumpers again. Their single target damage, they're kind of low. I would say they're like 4th, 5th in single target, but they're anywhere from number 1 to number 2 in AoE, and it's a little bit scary. So they have their job, they fulfill their job. When you get to Black Temple and Sunwell, I was actually talking to Aloando, the guy who does all those like crazy, this is how warriors can actually like gigapump thing. And he's already got a setup where he can get the bosses down to 0 armor. So it's like a 1,700 armor penetration build. And then the other 6,000 is taken off by debuffs like Imp Expose, Fairy Fire, etc. So there's a lot of things where people are theory crafting or going off of, because he even played on private servers. But there's a lot of things that are different now. Like, for example, if you bring a bunch of warlocks to this, warlocks are going to struggle on Nightbane because they can't deal damage to the ads. Warlocks are going to struggle on the room before this where you have all the eels and shit. So you can't like stack a complete magic damage comp here. And in fact, Karazhan is more physical damage friendly. Don't misconstrue that as like melee, because hunters are physical damage, right? So it's like you can bring hunters and hunters are going to do well. You can bring warriors and rogues that are good and they'll do well. So as long as the mechanics favor the class or don't completely destroy them, it's not going to be that much of a problem. So it's really interesting to see. So warriors right now, a warrior is currently number 1 from the logs that I've seen. And I just want him to, dude, why Kira, just take the data and show me the fucking data, dude. just take all the logs and just give me the full clear. Give me the full clear data.
It's so hard to actually
there.
It's so hard to actually find like even just VODs as well. Like you would going through logs. I was trying to find VODs of Nightbane and such, but it's gotten to a point because like Nightbane is actually so hard that pugs just aren't even doing it. They're just like, we're not doing Nightbane. We're gonna skip him.
Where's I have Nightbane somewhere where we kill it.
I'm not sure if I found it in your VOD, but I did find.
Good.
I found a Nightbane kill. This is Duranosaur.
Okay.
This is a Nightbane kill. But I did find another video as well where NanoNust went back and compared the Nightbane, because the thing that makes Nightbane hard right now, if I play Duranosaur's clip, is that right now the casters can't hurt the ads. The ads are
Yes.
magic immune for whatever reason. So
It's how original Nightbane was.
so Nightbane is really, really hard, and all the skeletons that spawn, they do this immolation thing. That my guild, my group quickly found out that you just get destroyed if you try to stack and cleave down the skeletons like that. It's very easy to just instantly blow up, which is what happened to a lot of groups. So a lot of groups are swapping to like this kiting thing that they do, where they kite the ads and kill them at the same time. On Nightbane. How did your guild beat it?
So what ended up happening is we were wiping on it over and over again, and I was playing rogue, and then our tank left, and I was like, okay, just give me like 15 minutes. I'm just gonna make my tank copy paste template, and it named it Nightbane Dad, and then went in and we one shot it because tanking it, you need to have 490 plus defense. You need to be using an armor pot the entire time. You need to be keeping aggro. Also making sure that you have a Thunderclap demo shout up on top of full sunders and all that. So you have to do a lot of upkeep and make sure that he's doing as little damage as possible to you. So my health pool is really, really large, and I'm geared specifically for being able to take hits. So if your Nightbane tank is getting like shit on, like, and he's not taking the same damage as me, there's a very, very specific reason for that. Because I'm very much so set up for this. So like I'm taking like 6.5k, but I have almost 19k HP. And if I were Tauren, I would have 19k HP. So it's just like that. I can take 3 hits, 4 hits from him without dying, and I'm perfectly fine. But I have to keep my Thunderclap up. I have to keep Demo Shout up at a certain point once I have enough threat and enough of the lead. But the way we handled it is I'll take Nightbane in the beginning. Actually, we 9-man it. That's right. We never replaced my Rogue when I swapped over. So we 9-man Nightbane. The way we did this is when you get to the air phase, during the air phase, you have one person specifically draw aggro as a healer. The thing that's killing people is when he's in the air, he does a 4,000 damage physical attack that's like Smoldering Blast or Searing Blast or something like that. And it hits one person, and it's the person who has aggro on him. And for some reason, casters can't get like aggro on him, and it goes to healers. So your healers are going to be getting hit for 4k every few seconds while having to heal a paladin that's AoE tanking simultaneously. So it's almost like one healer has to be specifically drawing aggro on purpose and making sure it doesn't swap aggro and healing themselves or healing somebody else. So the way we did this is we had our priest take it, I believe, and he uses an armor pot the entire time to make sure that he is the one that is taking it. The way that we handled the ads is we all grouped up in one spot, and then when we all group up, we all group up. We wait for it to just do the breath on us, so we can bait it into a specific place. We have the paladin consecrate, and he will draw aggro on all of them, and we keep it as a group. And because the immolate does 1,000 damage to everybody, right, who's in that area, I grab one ad, pull it out, kind of Gar style. One ad, pull it out to my melee, right, and try to make sure that we can kill them without having them be like, too much of a hassle. So it's just grab one, taunt, bring it out. And you can see healers are taking like 4k damage at a time, right? Priest, boom, boom, boom. He's almost dead. Like he almost drops there. If he didn't use armor pot, he's dead. That's why his mana so low, is because he's not mana potting, right? We have 3 druids, so he can get an innervate from the feral at some point. But yeah, it basically becomes this race of he will come down from the air. You have to keep your healers up, make sure they don't die, and then you have to take these ads. So we would pull the ads out one by one from the paladin, and this was the hardest part, was the re-landing. So misdirect is very, very helpful here.
Yeah.
Right. But also having your group, because a lot of people will like kill the ads and they're on top of where Nightbane comes down, and then people get insta-gibbed. Because the way his threat works is he clears threat completely. Then when he comes down, he stops, he'll attack, and then he drops threat. So he'll attack somebody randomly underneath him. Usually it's a healer, just like the instant like first attack thing, and then he drops threat. You'll actually see it here later where I shield slam him and hit him with like a devastate in like the 3rd air phase when he comes down. And he runs away from me, even though I would have had the most threat on a threat wipe. And it's because I hit him before he cleared his threat. So Nightbane comes down, then he comes down, you can hit him, he'll hit you, then he clears threat. So if you hit him too early, it's going to run away. So misdirect is very, very good for that, but also positioning your raid to be between you, or to have the tank be between your group and Nightbane is the best. So having the tank be like on Nightbane is not always ideal. Having Nightbane run towards you and the tank swing at him while he's running towards like healers or something seems to be the ideal way to do it. So that's what ends up happening in like the 25% transition phase. But yeah, we ended up 9-manning it, 3 healers, 2 tanks, and then a feral druid, a hunter, and an enhancement shaman. So
Okay, so to see if I understand this. So when he goes into air phase, you have, did you say a paladin tanks to get aggro on all the little ad guys that spawn,
Yes.
and then you pull one out at a time to kill them?
Yes. No tremor down. Or I guess the tremor was like I could have danced. I danced a later one, I think. But yeah, so we res him. Yeah, you all stand up.
Okay,
You all
so
stand in
we're
one
seeing-
spot.
So the deep breath is what you have your healer, you said, pulling that.
Yeah. So I grab one. They all end up in the consecrate. I pull one out so that we can kill it with melee DPS, right? So because we have 2 melee DPSers, so I can just pull this, make sure people aren't taking a ton of immolate damage, and then grab the next one. And then when I think I do this 3 times, and then there's 2 left, and then we cleave down the remaining 2. So we don't want to have like 3 or anything like that. Our priest dies there because he's getting hit real hard there, but it's not a bad thing because he's running and having to use an armor pot. So as long as we can keep up the, I think it hits druid now or something, but yeah, we res him because we have 3 battle reses. It's not that big of a deal. But we have one add up for like 2 more seconds because we're missing a DPSer. And then right here, make sure that it's good. No, there, see that? See that? Yeah, go back there. So he lands, clears threat. I hit him right before, and then I hit him right before he clears threat. And you can see on the damage meter I have no threat.
Huh.
Yeah. He ran right past me, and I hit him with a shield slam and I think a heroic strike. And I had no threat. And so it was really weird. So you want to position yourself not where he lands as the tank, and you want to hold your abilities until he starts running and react to that. It's really janky, but it's how it works. It also happens again. I think they bopped the druid, which saved that. And then the next time that it happens, the prot paladin picks it up because he laid consecrate down between himself and the healers, so that Nightbane ran over the consecrate, took a tick, and went to him instead. So it was actually good to have 2 tanks, and then I took it off him after that. But yeah, it's a very hard boss. I'm interested to see how many people will actually do anything to or people will actually clear him in the first week. I'll be interested. Somebody says the healers pull insane threat if they do anything between ad phase and his landing. Well, so ad phase and landing, he doesn't have any threat during that time, right? He actually clears threat when he lands. He'll clear threat after he lands. So he lands, does attacks, and then he clears threat. It's really fucking janky how he does it, but it doesn't matter if you heal me for 5,000 as he's landing. It only matters after he clears his threat if you heal. And sometimes people have badly timed heals. And there, the druid healed and he only had 100 threat when I looked at the meter and it ran at him. So the full wipe of threat happens when his feet touch the ground and then he starts moving, and then it happens. It's just super fucking weird.
But yeah, he's super hard on the beta right now. I don't know many people that have actually even killed him. Because right now it's funny. But sometimes I'll start a stream and people will be like, "Go do Karazhan," and I'm like, guys, I'm not streaming for 6 hours because if I do a pug, that's how long it's gonna take to do Karazhan, and we still probably won't get Nightbane anyway. That's how long we're gonna have to commit because Karazhan's, like we said, Shade. To finish up Shade before we talk about Nightbane. Shade is let's see, his ads have 50k HP now, the elementals he spawns. The blizzard is across the entire room almost at times, so you have to adapt and move around for the blizzard a lot more.
How did we do him in this group? Because we don't have a fear or anything like that. We don't have a warlock, right? Let's see, because this group was this was my physical stack group, where we had a feral druid enhancement. So group 1 was a warrior, a feral druid, an enhancement shaman, a hunter, and my rogue. And this was just to see how rogue performs, right? And to see how much damage I do. So I had a group 1 was completely like I have so much extra crit, so much extra damage, right? And it actually ended up being really good. I think I got like highest overall by a decent amount, but I don't remember what we did for other things.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find your shade kill.
Yeah, it'll be back a bit. Yeah,
but yeah, rogues haven't been doing too bad, honestly.
Yeah, rogue is like the second. Rogue is like the second best single target DPS class in the game. Like, oh yeah, that's right. We grabbed the elementals with our tanks. We stacked them and like just focused elementals with heroism and stuff. So
okay, let me see. So this is starter shade. You're playing rogue here. But yeah, so
I actually don't have logs for this, unfortunately. I don't remember I don't remember. I didn't log this. The feral druid also did particularly well too. The cat druid, I remember he did well. But overall, it's just a physical damage thing. So.
Yeah. One thing about the ads is in the past people used to skip the ads, or you could burn through the ads. But now it feels like there's so much. You got to kill the ads, and they're doing so much damage. Oh, and there goes Zirene.
Yeah, I was like, I forgot what happened there. I was like, wait, how did I die? I was like, oh, maybe I should have cloaked, right?
Oh God.
Like, oh yeah, I got hit for like 4.2k or some shit, or maybe a blizzard tick happened at the same time. That was
something
like,
one shot you from from like 4k. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, there's a tick, and then
and
I was like, okay. I was like, I guess so, whatever.
But
yeah. These ads have 50k HP, very hard to take down, especially in Korean. Don't understand. Oh, my favorite ads. Oh man, but yeah, it feels like you have to deal with the ads unless you have 2 warlocks, and then they can banish fear, and then you just focus shade. But here, I think we were like focusing on interrupts, grouping them in the middle, and then cleaving them down. Despite only having like 1 or 2 cleave classes, me and like the hunter, sort of. But
so, yeah, you can see the blizzards you really got to move around to avoid this blizzard. It's actually a menace. It's so annoying because your casters all trying to avoid getting silenced. But yeah, there's a lot of running around.
I wasn't gonna take this res right now, you know. Yeah, I was gonna wait. There we go.
Yeah, so the 2 roadblocks for Karazhan seems to be Shade and Nightbane right now. Everything else is fairly basic. It's nothing else has changed in the rest of it.
And if you wipe on Shade, like just move on. Like just move on, because I swear to God, the biggest part of like why groups fall apart is because of Shade and how long that walk is when you wipe.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's really hard to like it's really hard to actually just like, you know, walk all the way back and keep doing that over and over again. And people get demoralized, they get bored, they don't want to do it. It's all this shit where they just like really just don't want to like deal with it. And I don't blame them, man.
I mean Shade's in the worst spot because he's like right before you get the port. You got to kill him to get the next port. And if you don't, then you have to go through the entire instance to get to him again. So every wipe, we just hope that like someone got out, like someone can res, because otherwise it's just a nightmare. It takes so long just to do one attempt, and that's why my first group. That's why my first group fell apart because we just ran back to Shade like 10 times, and then everyone's like, "Well, it's been like 10 hours. I gotta go now, guys. Sorry."
Yeah, you know what the biggest and most annoying bug is right now is that human females, if you get slowed or you use a movement speed increase, your animation of running does not slow down or speed up. You run the same. And it is really annoying because it just looks like you taking big steps or you running in place. It is. I don't know why it's like that, but it is janky. Also, I think I died on this fight and then I still got first or second overall damage.
Okay, so here are the ads. This is the phase where like a lot of groups like just wipe horribly because the ads are doing so much damage, and then the blizzards. Look at the blizzard. The blizzard is like the entire so much of the room right now. So everyone's trying to avoid the blizzard, and
dead, right?
It is rough. This transition phase is rough.
Yeah, I cloak of shadows just to like make sure that I live this time, and then it's time to all go towards the same ad, and it runs away from us. So we're big Sag, and then the heroism comes out. I'm trying to LOS it, and then now we have to go to town on these things.
But yeah, it really feels like you have to have your healing really has to be on point for this fight. That's what I noticed because we tried when we came back in, we were expecting original Kara, and then we came
Mhm.
back in with we actually tried to 2-heal at the start, and that was rough. 2-healing the
Mhm.
changed Karazhan, and once we
Yeah.
got a third healer, it definitely got a lot easier or a lot more manageable.
Yes, 3 healers on Karazhan is absolutely necessary for Nightbane, but it makes the whole thing so much better. And it kind of holds the ratio of right now in like in regular WoW raids with 40 people, you bring like 11 to 12 healers, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you just do like what is it? It's like 40 divided by 12, and that's 3.33. So for every 3.33 other people you have 1 healer. So in a 10-man, you should have 3 healers, right? Because 3 times
Yeah.
3.33. So that's 1 healer per three people, which would lead me to believe that, you would want to have like 8 healers in 25 mans, which seems like a lot, right? So send anywhere from 7 to 8 healers. People have been saying like 5 to 6. I don't know. 5 to 6 seems low for 25 when I keep looking at it. So I don't know. The way things have held up, healing is something that's really hard in this game now. So it's not the same.
So to go back to, so we've talked about Shade now, covered the differences. Nightbane, do you feel they should keep the current Nightbane? Because the interesting thing is here on the Nano Nos clip, he was able to find that in 2007 the ads were not immune for a portion, or rather it was like a very short change that got reverted or something happened. It was only for like a week or something like that.
Yes.
Where the
So
ads
the
were
original Nightbane, the very, very first Nightbane, was like the ads were immune to magic, and you could only hit them with physical or holy. It was very early on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And then it got quickly kind of changed later.
Yep.
So do you think they should keep the current Nightbane? Because it's very punishing right now.
Yep. And then they removed the immolation. You see how like quickly they made it like different?
Yeah.
What is that? Immunity effect. Yeah, the skeleton's not having immolation. I think it's fine. It's completely doable and manageable. But you know what's going to happen is casters are just going to bring Strathholm Holy Water. Like if you're an actual like try-hard guild, your casters will bring Strathholm Holy Water. When they're grouped up, you can throw that, and that's based on spell power too. So you'll be able to do some damage during that phase, hit Nightbane a bunch, and then go ahead and throw the water. And in fact, most guilds that are like sweaty will have everybody throw Holy Water at that point.
Yeah. So to explain to people that are confused right now, Zirene's saying the holy water because holy damage works. It's just all the other stuff doesn't work. He's immune to everything that's not holy, basically.
Yeah, that's why like prot paladin is basically necessary for this part. You can use a feral druid, but there's no way a warrior is going to pick up all those ads. You would have to kite them through a frost trap, and like the warrior would have to work their ass off. But it just feels like warrior is particularly for like making sure that they can tank Nightbane, and then having a paladin in particular or a druid be the off tank seems to be the way to go right now. But paladin tanks are incredibly strong in Kara. I actually recommend warrior paladin as your 2 tanks right now. I don't think feral has too much of a place in Karazhan. The AoE packs are like too much for them, and the amount of crushings that happen on certain fights are warriors deal a lot better with that type of thing. So
yeah, I'm curious to see how the Karazhan turns out with the current thing, because it feels like comps actually matter now. You kind of just run into Karazhan with any random comp. Comps actually matter a little bit, and at first I was a little bit worried that they make Karazhan too punishing, because this is something we're gonna have to be running all phase 1 and such, and it's a long instance already. That's my only worry, is that if they make Karazhan too punishing, I actually enjoy the punishing raids. I don't know about other people, but I enjoy like the progression raids. I like those types of raids. I only don't like it when it's like Nax, where it's both punishing early on, but then you also, every time you die, you look at your bank account and realize, oh no, I just lost like 50 to 100 gold there, and I'm running out of gold very, very quickly. As long as I'm not in that position where I feel like, oh no, I'm losing all my money, I don't actually mind. I actually like the punishing raid content, but I'm just wondering whether everyone else will like that sort of level of content.
Well, the problem that I have with it is I like it because, I'm one of those more hardcore players, shitting your pants in arena.
That is the level of hardcore.
Yeah, it's that hardcore. But when you look at Karazhan, it's a place that you're going to be raiding for a couple months, and it's going to be the longer raid between Gruul and Mag Theridon. It's going to be the longest of the three, and I don't mind that. But the problem that I have with it isn't like duration or anything like that. It's that the classes that you're going to need, I don't know how many prot paladins you're going to have in your guild. So it's going to be really tough to fill a lot of groups with full guildies and feel like you have all the classes you need to succeed, right?
Yeah.
So, because like it feels to me like if you run double warrior, you can't kill Nightbane. There's no way you can kill Nightbane with double warrior tanks unless you have like godly traps and you stack hunters that can all just like kill these ads before they even reach them with like their 14k HP each. So that's how it feels right now. Is that the classes are a little more particular because you can go in and be like, this is a dog composition. Like there's no way that we're going to be able to, clear this.
Yeah, those little skeletons, the immolation is painful if you don't do it properly, which is what I think every group quickly found out. Because the first time around, the skeletons barely did they even do anything the first time around? No. The skeletons didn't do anything. You just group them up and just kill the skeletons and it was nothing. But now if you do that, you group them up, you all stand there, they each tick you for like 1,000 each or something, and then you just all die.
The immolation is 1,000 each, and I believe there's 5 to 6 of them. So it only that's why we have like me go in and like pull something out.
Yeah. So you can see in the video here that like you can see his paladin is aggroing them, and then Zirene comes in and pulls one out at a time for them to kill. And it feels like that's kind of what you have to do. I've seen some people also do the kite strategy to varying degrees of success, where they just try to kite everything. But I think you need a bunch of hunters and such for that.
Yeah, you need hunters to do that because we have one hunter, and he's the only person who could do damage to them if they were in that position. So we need to enable our enhancement shaman and our feral druid to be able to do damage to these if we want to kill all of them, because we're 9-manning this, right? So we're missing a DPSer, and that means we need as much as possible. So right here, we'll always kill all of them until there's only 2 left, and the 2 left immolation is completely fine and healable. So we just cleave the last 2 down, and then Nightbane comes down at the right time. So
and then while all of this is happening, you still have your healer taking the what's the ability called?
It's like smoldering or searing. It's like smoldering breath or searing. I don't remember
something,
but it's physical. It's physical, which is the problem. Is it hits for 4k, and it will always aggro a healer. So your priests have to have inner fire. They have to be using armor pots. They have to be getting innervates instead of using mana pots. A paladin can purposely aggro it by clicking off salve and having righteous fury on, and that's the best class for it. Is if you shield. The way I was able to manipulate it in a different run that I actually didn't show because Holy Paladin is not very entertaining to watch for people, is I clicked off salve, had righteous fury on, popped an armor pot because paladins don't really care about mana, and told the warlock to life tap, and I purposely healed him the whole time at the start to get aggro initially, and then I started just healing myself, and then I went, wait a second, fuck that, I'll keep healing the tank. So I healed the tank, and then other healers healed me, and paladins get mana back for being healed, right? By other people. So I wasn't going at all with using an armor pot there. And that seemed to be like the best strategy was warlock life tap, purposefully allow a paladin to get the aggro on it, and it hits you for like 2k instead of 4. So it's for like 2k 1.6 1.7. So it's way fucking like more manageable. Somebody said smoking blast. Yes, that's what it is. Smoking blast or searing blast. It's really it's really hard hitting on healers. Little 2-shot healers, and that's what's killing people right now more than anything. Is that also not knowing how to manage the position of things? Yeah, I think the totems, bro.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Although it'll be interesting to see who can do it, because right now not many people, even on the beta, are beating Nightbane. It's a punishing boss. But
and this isn't a guild run or anything like that. This is a pug, and this is my rogue's pug, and then I I had to swap to warrior to have us one-shot Nightbane because I just did not like how the other warrior was tanking, and then he left, and I was a rogue, and I was like, I literally do nothing, right? I was like, I literally do nothing but damage, dude. Like, and finding a tank much harder. than finding like a DPS. And even then, we didn't even find a DPS. We were just like, just pull.
So a question before we go on to the last topic.
Yeah.
Someone asked me to ask you, what are your thoughts on Fury Prot versus Deep Prot for Warriors in the beta?
So right now, it feels like in order to get threat on things, like if you have like a big pumper, Fury Prot may be the way to go. God, the fact that it ran by me there and the threat had the reset was just sad, bro. Yeah, it feels like Fury Prot does have its place potentially, but that's if you're off tanking, is what it feels like. It feels like if you're gonna have like a paladin main tank who's also gonna main tank all the like AoE trash, it feels like Fury Prot's more of a main or off tank thing. I've messed around with a Fury Prot build, and it is more for if you have big pumpers in your group and you can't miss, right? Like I have like 1% hit rating, 2% with a Draenei here out of the 9% you need for bosses. So I will miss shield slams, right? Having like an extra 7% chance to not hit a boss is really big. And if you go all the way down Fury Prot, you can actually get the precision talent for 3% hit. So you can get much closer to crit cap while staying tanky as Fury Prot. And that's where I would see Fury Prot being is if you have pumpers and you like absolutely cannot miss a boss because people want a DPS immediately. That's the spot for it. See, like right there, I missed a shield slam, right? Yeah. Because the gear just doesn't have hit on it. And if I need to be tanky enough to like tank Nightbane and be like uncrushing and shit like that, I need to do it that way. So the character that I used had less defense, and I wore 2-piece High Warlord set for resilience to become uncritable. So I maintained having high crit so I could have flurry uptime. I was hit capped. I had like 20% crit, and I had like 14k HP with commanding shout up. So you can get up to like 16k HP or maybe a little bit higher than that with full buffs. And so it's definitely like 2.7k or 2k lower than like this setup here, but it feels like it's way more for you can't miss an ability because people are riding your ass in threat type thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's the only time that I feel like it's super relevant. Otherwise, there's no reason to bring it. It's way too squishy. The talents lower in the tree in Prot really don't do much for you, for sure. But just the gear setup synergizes with shield block rating for shield slam, and that just feels like it's a lot better for rating right now, is being able to stack shield block instead of stacking crit hit for flurry. So that's my take on it.
Where does a Deep Prot Warrior stand in regards to versus like a bear tank right now?
So that's the thing, is I actually don't know how to rank them. I think Paladin. So right now, hot take, Paladin is the best tank right now. I actually think Paladin is by far the best tank right now in Karazhan, at least. In Karazhan, I think without a question they're the best because they can tank the ads and they're like necessary. Because this version of Karazhan, you need to have a Paladin for Nightbane. You need to have a Paladin for the AoE packs, or your Warlock's going to be dead like every 2 seconds before Morose. And like a Feral Druid just doesn't do the same thing. And like you can have infinite number of targets on you. You see, look at that. He ran away from me again after I had hit him with 2 abilities, and then he ran away from me straight to the healers. And then the Paladin picked him up and made sure nobody died. Like here, I hit him with 2 abilities, and then his threat wipes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I need to stand further back, wait for him to come through, and then hit him with the abilities. But yeah, it's very tricky when he drops down. So yeah, his threat wipes after he starts moving, but he can already hit and clap people before that. So standing under him, bad idea. But yeah, it's I would say that Warriors are one of, I would say on trash, Warriors are probably your shit tier. They're probably your worst tank out of the 3. I think Paladins are the best. I think Druids are the second best. And then I think Warriors are the worst in terms of trash tanking. But in boss tanking, I would say Warriors are typically your best right now for mitigation, followed by Paladins, followed by Druids. But Druids are up there in terms of TPS. Like if you have a Paladin who's like clearly geared for main tanking, he'll consecrate and he'll pull the mob off of you while you're tanking using shield slam and like heroic strike. He'll pull the mob off of you. Paladin threat is actually just really good right now, especially in Karazhan. And a lot of things are undead and demons, so they can exercise, right? So Paladin threat is a lot better than people think it is. Like imagine Nightbane coming down and I can ranged exorcism him, right? It's just a lot easier as a Paladin tank to do those types of things and have fillers. The problem is that you do run sometimes, and that's the problem. Ranking for tanks dungeon wise, heroics Paladin's still top tier. And I would put I'll put bears up there, but also I think I honestly right now I think bears and warriors. I had to stance this one, yeah, because I didn't see anything down for me, so I stance that one because I didn't have fear word. Yeah, so the paladins I think are just by far the best tanks. Like I was surprised, but there's like no question in my mind that they aren't the best. After playing them, seeing them, and messing around with it as off tank and main tank, it just seems so much better than warrior for trash, and for bosses it's up there as well. So it's like almost up there at the same like ranking as warrior for bosses, but yeah, it's crazy good. I'm very surprised by it. I was very, very surprised by it. So I think they're all playable, but I think that if you stack, so like here's the thing is I'll put it this way. I would not mind having 2 feral druids tank or 2 paladins tank, but I would not want 2 warriors to be my tanks in Karazhan. So warrior feels very particular in terms of you are the boss tank, and there are specific encounters that you are like necessary for. But paladin just feels globally good. Like you see this paladin has the same HP as me. I have 18.7k. He's got 18.4, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's good. So you literally gear your paladin exactly like, because there's nothing that I'm wearing right now that's like warrior specific. You literally gear your paladin exactly the same as the warrior, and you don't care about your mana pool and you don't care about your spell damage, but you put it on rings and weapon, and that carries you, and you just use a spell damage weapon. And so prot paladin is actually like I said, by far and away the best. I don't know if that will hold. So like, you know, shout out to all my guys out there who are just like, you know, oh, I love prot paladin, and you're gonna be pleasantly surprised because they're incredibly good, incredibly wanted, and the
best AoE boosters as well up there.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sad about that, dude. I play paladin, but like I'm pretty sad about that because it feels like why would you bring a feral druid when you can bring a paladin unless you care about the 5% crit? And the other thing too is paladins seem less group dependent than the others for what they want to do. What I mean by that is I can stick this paladin into the caster group and stack my melee group or physical damage group even harder, and he doesn't give a fuck because he's just gonna synergize with the caster. He's like, oh, I get Wrath of Air Totem now. That's more threat for me. Or Wind Fury if I'm in the main tank group, or if I'm getting like Commanding Shout there. That's the only thing that really matters is Commanding Shout. Otherwise, the Paladin threat being spell damage and attack based, because it's both of them, they can go into any group. They're pretty flexible. And instead of like main tanks, like I gotta have Wind Fury, I gotta make sure I'm good. Like they gotta put me in that group. So it's really interesting. Druids are better druids are the best at. So here's the thing that druids are really good at is druids don't take up a shit spot when it's a single target boss. So when you have a boss like Nightbane or Prince Malchazar where you don't need a off tank, you use your druid, because what druids do is they can get every single feral DPS talent that is relevant to them. I think they just miss out on Ferocious Bite, but even then you use the bleed instead now. So when you bear tank, you actually get all the cat damage talents too. So when you have gear sets, they're the best off tanks because they can immediately go to DPS and contribute that way. So it's really interesting because I feel like everybody has their place where druids are the best at that. Paladins just seem the best overall, and then warriors are just like they seem like they're the best tanks for bosses right now. Definitely use them in like Mag Theridin and Gruul.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to how Karazhan turns out anyway. All right. Yeah. I think we covered a lot today, guys. We covered like a gigantic list of topics. So this was episode 10. We will see you guys next week. Take care.